quarters. PM Balendra Shah pledges support for Nepal's tourism industry. Hotel entrepreneurs seek key policy reforms to boost tourist arrivals. 4 Nepali Congress ministers resign in Karnali. Sudar Paschim Chief Minister dismisses CP and UML ministers over provincial budget row. US carries out new wave of strikes against Iranian targets. US President warns of expanding military strikes if Tehran does not agree to proposed deal. Spain storms into the final of FIFA World Cup 2026, defeating France. England up against Argentina tonight for a place in the title decider. And Nepal's under-19 women reach ACC Premier Cup semi-finals, defeating Japan. Men's team secure direct entry to the 2020 T20 World Cup global qualifiers. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and this is NTV World Primetime News. We are coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. Lawmakers in the House of Representatives today urged the government to address a wide range of public concerns, including rising prices, landless quarters, good governance, and economic recovery. Members also called for diplomatic efforts to resolve the Nepal-India border issue, uphold the rule of law, and end the ongoing parliamentary deadlock. During the urgency hour, lawmakers demanded stronger mental health policies, better implementation of health insurance in major hospitals, and immediate action to restore digital services affected by technical problems. Concerns were also raised over damaged roads in Ilam, disaster preparedness, relief for flood victims, the search for a missing woman in Gulmi, and the demands of contract and temporary government employees. Meanwhile, the House received annual reports from the National Human Rights Commission, National Information Commission, and Inclusion Commission. Law Minister Sovita Gautam announced that the government plans to register 166 bills in the next fiscal year, describing it as a year focused on legal and legislative reforms. The minister also pledged close coordination with Parliament to accelerate the lawmaking process and strengthen legislative management. The National Assembly has scheduled its next meeting for July 31st, following discussions on governance, disaster preparedness, and public service delivery. Law Minister Sovita Gautam, on behalf of Prime Minister Balendra Shah, presented the Attorney General's annual report for the fiscal year 2081-82. Assembly Chairperson Narayan Prasad Dahal also informed members about bills recently certified by the President. During the special hour, lawmaker Kamla Pant called for stronger disaster preparedness, improved governance, and effective implementation of the government's integrity policy to curb corruption. She also urged the government to strengthen early warning systems, identifying disaster-prone areas, and swiftly approve Nepal's early warning for all strategic plan. Other lawmakers raised concerns over press freedom, shortages of chemical fertilizers, health insurance services, drinking water problems in the Tarai, and inadequate funding for youth employment. They called on the government to be more accountable and ensure timely delivery of essential public services. Now moving on. Prime Minister Balendra Shah has assured hotel entrepreneurs that the government is working swiftly to strengthen Nepal's tourism industry and encourage the private sector to partner closely with the government. He urged businesses to comply with the law, bring small and medium hotels to the formal tax systems, and explore public-private partnership opportunities. Hotel Association of Nepal officials said the country's hotels can accommodate up to 4 million tourists annually. But current arrivals remain at around 1.2 million. They said increasing tourist numbers would generate jobs, strengthen the economy, and help reduce the outflow of young Nepalese seeking employment abroad. The association also highlighted Nepal's potential as a destination for health tourism, weddings, and cross-border travel while seeking policy reforms to support the sector. Among their demands were lower electricity tariffs, easier investment rules, improved operations at Pokhara and Bhairava Airport, stronger Nepal Airlines services, and legal reforms to encourage tourism-related investment. 4 ministers representing the Nepali Congress in the Karnali provincial government have tendered their resignation today. Leader of the Nepali Congress Karnali Provincial Assembly, Jivan Bahadur Shahi, said the Finance and Planning Minister Rajiv Bikram Shah, Social Development Minister Ghanshyam Bhandari, Water Resources and Energy Minister Vijay Bura, and Industry, Tourism, Forests and Environment Minister Suresh Adhikari have jointly submitted their resignations. It is said they have submitted a joint resignation today in line with the agreement reached between the ruling parties, the Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, to run an alternating government for 2 years each. Sudar Paschim Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah has dismissed all CPN-UML ministers from the provincial government after the party declined to support the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. According to the Chief Minister's office, the decision came after the ruling coalition partner refused to back the budget during the provincial assembly proceedings. Those removed include the Minister for Physical Infrastructure Development, Internal Affairs and Law, Land Management, Agriculture and Cooperatives, along with the Minister of State of Physical Infrastructure. The UML has also registered proposals in the Provincial Assembly seeking to cut expenditures under 3 ministries. The latest development has intensified political tensions in Sudar Paschim and raised uncertainty over the future of the provincial government. We are going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay tuned with us. You are watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. The House of Representatives Finance Committee has directed the government to submit a report within 10 days on Nepal's capital market, banking sector and financial system. Lawmakers expressed concerns that despite excess liquidity in banks, credit expansion remains weak, while the capital markets continues to struggle. They called for institutional reforms, stronger investor protection, improved regulatory capacity and policy changes to support sustainable market growth. Members also stressed the need to introduce new financial instruments, expand institutional investment and strengthen coordination between banks and the capital market. The meeting was attended by officials from the Finance Ministry, Nepal Rashtra Bank, SEBON, NEPSE and other financial institutions. During the discussion, SEBON Chairman Dr. Gopal Prasad Bhatta said preparations are underway to introduce a short-selling system, allowing investors to earn returns even during market downturns. Vegetable farmers staged a protest at Maitighar in Kathmandu on Wednesday by dumping tomatoes on the road, demanding fair prices for their produce. The protesters said they are not receiving reasonable returns despite rising production costs, while middlemen continue to dominate the market. Farmers called on the government to fix minimum support prices for tomatoes and other vegetables and improve market management. They also demanded the implementation of agriculture insurance, cold storage facilities in every local ward, concessional loans and timely supplies of seeds and fertilizers. The demonstrators said ensuring fair prices and reducing the influence of middlemen are essential to protecting farmers' livelihoods and strengthening Nepal's agricultural sector. Roads and rural tracks are the first signs of development anywhere in the world. But the opening tracks and motorable roads haphazardly in the name of development in hilly terrains have their own sorrow. Nepal has been bearing the brunt of so-called bulldozer development with reoccurring landslides that are displacing entire villages. Sabika Shrestha along with Pavan Barsha brings more.
Roads are synonymous to development in any country, and Nepal is not an exception. Whether at the local or provincial level, governments have prioritized extending roads to every village. However, due to the tendency of opening tracks without accessing soil conditions, rock formations, or conducting geological studies, many rural roads are creating serious risk of landslides in the highlands. With the onset of the monsoon each year, landslides frequently block these rural roads, disrupting transportation. Beyond road closures, landslides also destroy fertile land while making the hilly settlements and slopes increasingly unsafe. Experts describe this trend as bulldozer development.
हाम्रो चाहिँ भिरालो जमिनलाई काटेर स्टेबलाइज कसरी गर्ने भन्ने उपाय गरिएन, पानीको समुचित निकास गर्न सकिएन। अर्को कुरा हामीले चाहिँ कति एंगलमा कुन बाटोमा अथवा कुन चट्टानी पहाडमा चाहिँ कसरी लिएर जाने भन्ने कुराको अध्ययन नगरिकिन हामीले चाहिँ सामान्यतया डोजरी विकास भन्छौं, त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ आको देखिन्छ।
Making the matter worse is the changing meteorological pattern, much due to climate change that has totally changed the precipitation with intense rainfall in short periods. Such heavy downpours significantly heighten the risk of landslides along the tracks and rural roads opened without proper planning or scientific assessment. Despite experts' recommendation to open tracks and roads after conducting through geological studies and planning, the trend of bulldozer development continues, especially at the end of the fiscal year that happens to be peak monsoon.
जुन ठाउँमा हामीले बाटो बनाउँदै छौं त्यहाँको भौगोलिक संरचना के हो भन्ने कुरा अध्ययन गर्नुपर्यो, जुन चाहिँ भूगर्भविदले अथवा जियोलोजिस्टहरूले गर्छन्। दोस्रो कुरा के हुन्छ त भन्दा त्यहाँ कट गर्ने बेलामा सामान्यतया रोड बनाउँदाखेरि ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन इन्जिनियरिङमा कुन एंगलबाट लिएर आउने, कुन डाइरेक्सनमा जाने भन्ने कुराको अध्ययनहरू गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ, त्यो अध्ययन गर्नुपर्यो। र तेस्रो कुरा चाहिँ त्यो स्लोपलाई काटिसकेपछि अथवा काट्नुभन्दा पहिले कति डिग्रीमा काट्ने भनेर चाहिँ त्यसको अध्ययन हुनुपर्यो र काटिसकेपछि त्यहाँ चाहिँ त्यो स्लोपलाई चाहिँ अड्याउनको लागि जसलाई हामी रिटेनिङ वालहरू भन्छौं अथवा त्यसका विभिन्न प्रकारहरू हुन्छन्, तीनहरू चाहिँ त्यहाँ राख्नुपर्छ, जसले गर्दा पहाड चाहिँ नि त्यसले टेवा वाल जस्तो दिन्छ हामीले। अर्को चाहिँ माथिबाट बगेर आउने जुन पानी छ त्यसको चाहिँ समुचित निकास हुनुपर्यो।
In a hilly and mountainous terrains of Nepal, natural landslides cannot be completely averted. However, experts argue that long-term solutions such as constructing tunnels along major highways based on geographical conditions could substantially reduce landslide risks. They have stressed strong legal provisions to discourage the practice of opening tracks and roads haphazardly, which they say can significantly reduce the risk of landslides each monsoon. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
Nepal has recorded nearly 50% paddy plantation so far. The Department of Agriculture informed that out of the target of planting paddy in 1.37 million hectares of land for this year, the plantation has been over in area of 682,000 hectares of land till date. Director General at the department, Rajendra Koirala, shared that although the country had witnessed 60% paddy plantation till the same period last fiscal year, the cultivation is 10% behind this year. Categorically, Sudur Paschim province has topped the plantation with 87%, which followed by Gandaki province with 65.9%, Karnali province with 60%, Lumbini province with 59% and Bagmati province with 57.1%. Madhya province has so far done the paddy plantation in 32.7% of its land, while Kochi province in the 32%, the department added. The authority hope the paddy plantation will increase sharply next week as it is raining in most parts of the country. The farming continues smoothly once there will be no hindrances such as floods, landslides and other natural disasters. Residents of Siangja district have been without basic healthcare for nearly 3 years after the community hospital closed. The Gandaki Rural Community Hospital in Chapakot to Syangja has been closed for nearly 32 months. Thousands are now forced to travel long distances for treatment. The 15-bed hospital was established in 2009 to serve remote communities. It shut down after the COVID-19 pandemic due to financial problems. Lack of government support and unpaid staff salaries forced services to stop. Patients now travel to Palpa, Butwal and Pokhara for treatment. Locals say the closure has increased costs, delays and health risk. Before closing, the hospital provided 24-hour emergency and outpatient services. Chapakot Mayor Dev Bahadur Khan says efforts to reopen the hospital are underway. The number of devotees visiting Changchangdi, also known as Chai Chetra Temple in Birkot municipality of Syangja, has been steadily increasing. Located along the Siddharth Highway, the temple is revered for its religious significance and is believed by many to fulfill the wishes of devotees. As visitors' numbers continue to rise, local efforts are now underway to improve and better manage the temple area. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Himal Nepani brings the report.
Changchangdi Temple, located in Birkot municipality of Syangja district of Nepal, is witnessing a steady rise in the number of devotees and visitors. Believed to be one of the sacred sites mentioned in the Sri Sostani Brata Katha, revered Hindu religious text, the temple is gaining popularity as both a religious and a tourist destination supported by ongoing infrastructure development. According to Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva arrived at this site while carrying the body of Goddess Sati after her death. It is believed that the final remaining part of Sati's body fell here, making Changchangdi a sacred place of worship. Devotees believe that prayers offered at the temple fulfill their wishes, drawing pilgrims from across the country throughout the year. Once crowded only during Mahasivaratri and on Mondays in the holy month of Shravan, the temple now welcomes hundreds of devotees every day. To preserve its religious heritage and enhance the visitor experience, infrastructure development is in full swing. Construction is underway on 108 sacred water spouts and an artificial Himalayan landscape within the temple complex. Situated along the Siddhartha Highway, Changchangdi Temple lies on the route frequently used by Indian pilgrims traveling from Pokhara to the renowned Muktinath Temple. Despite its religious significance and a strategic location, limited publicity and inadequate parking facilities have prevented the temple from attracting more international visitors. Local authorities believe that improved infrastructures, better promotion, and enhanced visitor facilities will help establish Changchangdi Temple as a prominent religious and tourism destination with international recognition.
International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. The United States says it has carried out a new wave of military strikes against Iranian targets near the strategic Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's southern coastline. According to the U.S. Central Command, the operation targeted missile and drone launch sites, naval assets, ammunition storage facilities, communication networks, and coastal surveillance systems. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most important maritime choke points, with around a fifth of global oil shipments passing through the waterway, making any escalations in the region a major international concern. The latest strikes come amid heightened tension between Washington and Tehran, rising fears of further instability across the Middle East. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington could expand its military strikes on Iran next week to include critical infrastructure such as power plants and bridges if Tehran does not agree to deal. The warning comes amid escalating tensions between two countries and ongoing efforts to pressure Iran through military and diplomatic measures.
And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has released images it says show missile and drone launches targeting U.S. positions and Bahrain and Kuwait. The footage comes amid escalating tensions between Tehran and Washington, with both sides exchanging threats and military actions in the region. The reported attacks have raised concern over the security of U.S. bases and key Gulf allies as regional tensions continue to intensify. Israeli and Lebanese delegations have arrived in Rome for a second day of U.S.-brokered negotiations aimed at advancing a ceasefire framework agreed upon last month. The talks follow 5 previous rounds of discussions in Washington and are focused on implementing measures to reduce tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border. Lebanese officials are seeking progress on the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon, a key demand under the framework agreement. The negotiations come after months of cross-border hostilities that have displaced thousands of civilians and heightened fears of wider regional conflict. Mediators hope the latest round will help build confidence between the two sides and pave the way for a more lasting de-escalation. Despite the ceasefire talks, Israeli forces have carried out controlled explosion in parts of southern Lebanon as talks between Israel and Lebanon continue in Rome under U.S. mediation. The blasts took place in the towns of Deir Shayan and Far Tibnit, according to reports, while negotiations focused on a framework agreement aimed at easing border tensions. Israel has said it is prepared to withdraw from 2 areas in southern Lebanon as part of the ongoing discussions. The talks are part of wider diplomatic efforts to stabilize the border region after months of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. China says it firmly opposes a proposed U.S. sanctions bill targeting countries that continue to buy Russian energy, calling the measure unacceptable. The bipartisan legislation backed by President Donald Trump is intended to increase pressure on Moscow over its war in Ukraine by targeting nations that help finance Russia's energy exports.
中方坚决反对没有国际法依据、未经联合国安理会授权的非法单边制裁。 将采取一切必要措施，坚定维护本国企业和公民的正当权益。搞双重标准和胁迫施压，最终只会搬起石头砸自己的脚。
More international news and sports update coming up next. For now, short breather. The Democratic Republic of Congo says confirmed Ebola cases have surpassed 2,000 with more than 750 deaths recorded since the outbreak began in May. The World Health Organization has warned that the actual number of infections could be significantly higher as hidden transmission and the spread of the virus to new provinces complicate efforts to contain the outbreak. The WHO says is the fastest growing Ebola outbreak it has managed, with cases now reported across 5 provinces, including areas linked by major transport routes. Health authorities are expanding surveillance and treatment efforts, while clinical trials are underway to test potential treatments for the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola. At least 1 person has died and 2 others are missing after a boat carrying 19 people sank near Alcatraz Island in the United States. Emergency crews responded to the incident in San Francisco Bay, where aerial footage showed rescue vessels surrounding the partially submerged boat. Officials said the search operations continued for the missing passengers as authorities worked to determine the cause of the accident. Alcatraz Island, a former federal prison and one of San Francisco's most visited landmarks, attracts millions of tourists each year. A Soyuz 2.1, a rocket carrying the Soyuz MS-29 crewed spacecraft, has launched from Kazakhstan's Baikonur Cosmodrome, sending 3 astronauts on a fast-track journey to the International Space Station. The crew includes Roscosmos cosmonauts Pyotr Tubrov and Anna Kikina, along with NASA astronaut Anil Menon. The mission marks another joint effort between Russia and United States in human space flight, as international crews continue operations aboard the orbiting laboratory. The spacecraft is expected to dock with the space station after a shortened journey compared with traditional missions. Time now for the sports update. In the ongoing FIFA World Cup 2026, Spain has defeated France, thereby entering the final. Spain defeated France 2-0 in the first semi-final match held at the Dallas Stadium in Texas, USA, to secure the journey to the final. Mikel Oyarzabal and Pedro Porro scored goals for Spain's victory. It was Mikel Oyarzabal making the first goal in the match. He scored with a penalty in the 22nd minute of the game. Spain was awarded a penalty once France's Lucas Digne fouled against Lamine Yamal. Pedro Porro scored in the 58th minute of the game to excel Spain's performance. Totaling 2 goals, France failed to score a goal, paving way to Spain's journey to the final. With this, Spain will face a winner of England-Argentina match at US Stadium, Jersey Stadium on Sunday. Now moving on, Nepal will face the UAE in the semi-final of the ongoing ACC Women's Under-19 Premier Cup in Malaysia. Both teams secured their places in the semi-final by winning their quarter-final matches on Wednesday. Nepal defeated Japan by 9 wickets, while the UAE beat Malaysia by 27 runs. The match between Nepal and the UAE, both already qualified for the Asia Cup, will take place on Friday. The youth teams of the two nations will meet at 11:45 a.m. Nepal time. Nepal has been given a chance to directly compete in the global qualifiers for the 2028 ICC T20 World Cup. The ICC announced the qualifications pathway for the 2028 edition, confirming Nepal's direct entry into the global qualifiers. According to ICC, teams that participated in the 2026 T20 World Cup but did not secure automatic qualifications will advance straight to the global qualifiers. Nepal, that played the group stage of 2026 T20 World Cup, will now play in the global qualifiers by passing the Asia regional qualifiers. The global qualifiers will feature 8 teams that missed direct qualification from the previous World Cup, along with 8 teams advancing from the regional qualifiers. From the regions, Africa, Asia and Europe will each send 2 teams, while the Americans and East Asia Pacific will send 1 team each. The change was approved at the ICC conference in Glasgow, Scotland last week. With this, we come to the end of the edition, but before we wrap up, a quick reminder of the headlines. Lawmakers urge the government to address the demands of meter interest victims, call for action to curb rising suicides and manage landless quarters. PM Balidar Shah pledges support for Nepal's tourism industry. Hotel entrepreneurs seek key policy reforms to boost tourist arrivals. 4 Nepali Congress ministers resigned in Karnali. Sudar Paschim Chief Minister dismisses CP and UML ministers over provincial budget row. US carries out new wave of strikes against Iranian targets. US President warns of expanding military strikes if Tehran does not agree to its proposed deal. Spain storm into the final of FIFA World Cup 2026, defeating France. England up against Argentina tonight for a place in the title decider. And Nepal's Under-19 women reach ACC Premier Cup semi-finals, defeating Japan. Men's team secure direct entry to the T20 T20 World Cup global qualifiers. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Suviksha Rajak. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries.
Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal.
Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices. Where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Pashupatinath is located in the eastern part of Kantipur city, approximately 5 kilometers away from Bagmati River. During the Lichavi period, the area surrounding Pashupatinath was known for animal rearing. This region includes Duasthali, Guveshwari, Gaurighat, Chaba Hill, Ganeshtan, and Kutuwali, all of which are part of the Pashupatinath area. In 1979 AD, UNESCO designated Pashupatinath as a World Heritage Site. The blessings of Pashupatinath have been revered since ancient times, indicating the site's significance long before the Lichavi dynasty. The presence of Jyotirlinga, a sacred representation of Lord Shiva, is mentioned in one of the ancient texts, highlighting its historical and religious importance. In the Gopal Raj dynasty, King Supuspadev described Pashupatinath as Varna Vyavastha. Following Supuspadev, every subsequent king incorporated the name of Pashupatinath within their own names. King Vaskar Dev offered 3 kosh,
to Pashupatinath, Brishdev presented a Trishul, Dharmadev contributed a Brishchos, and Narendra Dev offered various kosh made from different materials. Finally, Jayadev offered a lotus to Pashupatinath. In 1473 BS, Jyoti Malla renovated Pashupatinath. The priest Nityananda initiated the removal of the three-story structure of Pashupatinath and reduced it to a single story. Queen Ganga, the consort of Shiva Singh, had the Bhasa Bamsawali written, which is still present today. During the Malla dynasty, the offerings made by the kings to Pashupatinath can still be seen today. Among these offerings, Lord Shiva at Pashupatinath received a copper roof and chadi and kamal. Finally, King Jai Singh presented a gold-made mekhla and a grand jatra was conducted. The temple's extraordinary design is attributed to the cumulative contributions of successive kings, each leaving their mark by adding distinctive elements to its architecture. This rich history of royal patronage is the primary factor contributing to the exceptional and intricate design of this revered temple.
For centuries, the Kumail community of Nepal has lived closely tied to the earth, shaping clay, cultivating land, and sustaining a cultural identity rooted in indigenous skill, craft, and tradition. Recognized as one of Nepal's marginalized indigenous nationalities, the Kumails traditionally settle in the hilly regions and inner Tarai plains. Cultural practices and oral histories indicate that they have been part of Nepal's civilization since ancient times. As inhabitants of Nepal's fertile river valleys and plains, the Kumails have carried forward a deep-rooted tradition of earthenware craftsmanship, agriculture, and a rich cultural heritage that reflects centuries of resilience and adaptation. Their pottery has been more than household utility. It has been a marker of identity, livelihood, and cultural continuity. Today, as modern vessels replace handmade earthen vessels, the Kumails find themselves preserving not only a profession but a heritage passed down through generations. According to an ancient belief, clay work began at the time of creation when Prajapati, the son of Brahma, molded the first earthen vessel using Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The Sanskrit term Kumbhakar, meaning pot maker, gradually transformed, becoming Kumhar and eventually Kumail. Even today, pottery remains spiritually and culturally significant for the community. In Kumail settlements, soil is not just the ground beneath their feet. It is raw material, cultural memory, and a symbol of survival. The Kumail population is spread mainly across central Tarai districts of Nepal, namely across Lumbini, Gandaki, and Bagmati provinces. Traditionally, they rely on two main occupations, agriculture and pottery. Farms provided daily sustenance, while pottery supported household needs and served as a source of income. Community life historically revolved around extended family systems, with shared labor, collective participation in rituals, and a strong sense of belonging to ancestral land. Pottery for the Kumails is a detailed, multi-stage skill passed down through generations. The process begins with identifying the right soil. Black clay, the Kalo Matu, was traditionally preferred for its strength and texture. It was collected near riverbanks, ponds, and settled waterbeds. Among Tharu Kumails, this clay is also known as Kamaune Matu, meaning clay that earns. Clay is soaked, softened, and thoroughly kneaded. Using a tool called pasur, potters slice and cleanse the clay to remove impurities. In earlier times, bamboo tools were used instead of iron. The prepared clay is stored covered, maintaining moisture for shaping. The chakra or potter's wheel remains central to Kumal identity. Hands center the clay, fingers guide it, and experience shapes it. Tools like thap and pitani help refine form and smooth surface. Large vessels, water jars, grand pots, cooking pots and ritual vessels were once part of every Nepali household, each bearing the touch of Kumal craftsmanship. Freshly formed pots are cut from the wheel with thread or leaf strips and set to dry, first in shade to prevent cracks, then under the sun. A reddish clay called kabish matu is applied for finish and strength. The firing structure, awa or auri, is built from wood, straw, husk and cow dung. Pots are stacked carefully, forming a dome-like structure covered with hay and soil. The firing process takes up to 3 days. The Kumals maintain rich intangible heritage through customs, rituals, music and dance. The Keli dance is one of the most distinctive cultural expressions of the Kumals. Traditionally performed by men dressed as women, it is associated with community celebrations and spiritual belief. The performance concludes with blessings for the household hosting the event. Marriage traditionally takes place within the community, though intercaste marriage, particularly with Magar communities, has become common.
Ada nen budi ciura. Dari pokok nen budi ciura. Pokok le budi ciura.
Samdi-fight is also popular in this culture, where fathers of bride and groom go through a physical battle as a part of entertainment. A child's naming ceremony called Nwaran takes place on the 9th day for daughters and 11th day for sons, where a young unmarried girl narrates the name referred by the priest. Gon Ponni, a ritual where the mother burns bathing used during childbirth, is followed by baths. The child is then named and welcomed.
बोलाउने नाम आशिष कुमाल, देवताको नाम गोविन्द कुमाल, मेरो नाम सन्तोष कुमाल.
Grandmothers carry babies around the home, chasing the newborn with a catapult, symbolically granting strength and sealing belonging. Death rites emphasize purity, remembrance, and respect. The eldest son, or the one performing final rites, often standing inside a fishing net, performs final rites reflecting links to water-based livelihood and spiritual symbolism. Among the many Kumail rituals, ancestral worship, Kul Puja is considered the most important. It is performed in remembrance of those deceased in the family and is also known as Pitri Puja. The Kul Puja honors ancestors annually, while the worship of Singh Devata, urn-shaped forest deities, highlights ties to nature and livestock protection. The Kumail people speak their own indigenous language, Kumail, which belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family. However, due to increasing influence of Nepali language and modernization, the use of Kumail language has been declining, and community efforts continue to revive it through cultural programs and schools. Most Kumails practice Hinduism, worshipping deities such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and local protective gods and goddesses. Ancestral worship and belief in nature spirits hold deep cultural importance. Traditional attire for men includes white clothing and the dhaka topi, while women wear black blouses, traditional skirts, and red shawls, often adorned with local jewelry. With industrial materials such as aluminum, steel, and plastic replacing clay vessels, the demand for traditional pottery has sharply declined. Many Kumail families have moved to agriculture, labor, service work, or small businesses. Modern education and new employment opportunities are reshaping the choices of younger generations. Their hands do not merely shape clay, they sculpt culture, memory, and the foundation of Nepal's artistic soul. The Kumail community stands at a historic crossroads between tradition and modernity, memory and transition. Their identity is closely tied to clay, yet their future relies on adapting to changing socio-economic landscapes. Their story is not only about pottery, but resilience of a people who shaped Nepal's cultural foundation long before industry and technology. The preservation of Kumail heritage is not a matter of nostalgia. It is a recognition of indigenous knowledge, cultural diversity, and history shaped by hands that turn earth into life. If the story of Nepal is one of civilizations formed by soil and river, then the Kumail legacy will always remain at its foundation.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
Hello, welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief on NTV World. I'm Devendra Subedi. In this episode, we try to explore a young Nepali artist's journey from Kathmandu to the global stage. Her journey from scribbling pictures in canvas to becoming the first contemporary Nepali artist to be included in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, United States, in itself is fascinating. We will try to explore art, its forms, the artist herself, her life and work, and that is no less than an example for all the budding artists. Let's welcome Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Let's start with this Imagine thing.
Sure.
Can you explain what this Imagine exactly is?
Sure. I mean, when I was first introduced to art as a young adult after graduating from college, I was really introduced to graffiti. And a lot of times graffiti artists have sort of what is called a street name. And when my mentor at that time asked me to choose a name, you know, I really didn't have an idea. But then I thought of what was closest to my heart. And I automatically thought of my mom. And my mom's name is Kalpana. And so when you translate Kalpana into English, it means imagination.
Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yes, actually. Yeah. This says Kalpana, and, you know, it's my way of keeping my mom close to my heart. And every time I sign my name, I get to write her name.
You were influenced by graffiti, as you said, and now sculpture also you are pursuing, and you are mural painter as well. You have followed different forms, the art, right? The name itself, this name that you have chosen, doesn't sound graffitish like, but closer to your roots, your families. Was that something worked on or thought about?
Yeah, I wanted to choose something that felt like me. And I also needed like a shorter name, so like Imagine instead of Imagination made sense. And really my family and where I come from is really what roots me into my work. And so it made sense.
I'm really excited to have you here in our studios in Kathmandu. We caught you as you were here in Kathmandu for some project work, as you said. What is art exactly, Sneha? How should we define art? I know it's a very abstract term. This could have multiple understanding and interpretations, but how would you, as a performing artist, define art?
Well, as a visual artist, I would define art as self-expression. It's a way of sharing how I see the world.
Just that much?
Yeah.
What about the feelings?
I mean that is like, that includes everything, right? Like how I see the world, how I'm feeling about it, how I want people to see what I'm seeing. I think it's a powerful form of self-expression.
Art is something you are interested in or you like. When was the first memories of drawing something? When was it?
I think my first memory was watching my mom translate these English children's books into Nepali children's books. It was a time where there weren't a lot of Nepali children's books, right? So I remember, the story of the ant and the grasshopper. I remember it was, my mom was translating these books. She would write them in Nepali, and then she would draw them into like large books. She was a teacher. She was a teacher, and so she would take that to her. She was my Nepali teacher, actually, and so she would take it to the classroom and teach us in Nepali, but she would make it exciting, right? If you think about the books, even till now, textbooks and maybe texts on newspapers kind of look similar. Right? But then the way she would draw these pictures larger than life and the letters, like much larger so that kids can read it. I think that was my like really, first memory of like being fascinated by what colors can do, what these like broken pieces of color pencils can do on paper. But I mean, I've loved art and painting really all my life. So I think it was just a matter of,
when would I just discover it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a thing where I was like, I want to be an artist.
Was there somebody who saw the brighter side of your painting and told you that you should be doing this when you were a child?
That's a good question. I think I found myself getting drawn to painting all the time. It's just something that I loved doing, regardless of whether I had an art class or not. I just found myself doing it all the time. Even when I went to college, I had I majored in globalization studies. But in addition to that, I would find myself sneaking in art classes and making time for that. And so I just knew that that's something that felt like me, and I was just gravitated by it.
Any specific elements that you draw inspiration in your present day, let's say, art, Nepali culture, something that is rooted in something that is pretty Nepali-like?
Yeah, I think everything about my work is kind of rooted into where I come from, how I grew up in Kathmandu, my household, what my mom and dad showed me that is part of my, our tradition and culture as Newari people. I think it is hard to represent a whole country, being given that our country is so diverse. We speak more than 100 languages just inside Nepal, so it's impossible for me to represent the whole of Nepal. But what I realize is that I can tell the story of how I grew up, and hopefully other people can resonate with that. It really came from the need of expressing myself in terms of who I am. Because usually, I think even till this day when you're in the US, people are like, okay, you're from Nepal, oh, Mount Everest. That's about it, right? Yeah. And so how do I explain that I don't live anywhere close to Mount Everest? No, I haven't climbed it. Yes, I've seen it, but that doesn't tell my whole story. That doesn't tell your story. It doesn't tell my story, right? So I think it came from a struggle of saying, how do I tell people who I am? Where do I even start? I think that struggle became real over time. And I think art really helped me talk about, this is, how my mom does things at home. These are the colors that I was surrounded by growing up. These are temple, shapes of like different temples that is part of our, everyday architecture in Kathmandu. When you're walking around, there's a temple here, there's a temple there. There's so much fabric, like celebratory fabric around. And I think that's what I wanted to share. Because your identity isn't just one thing, it's all these things you're surrounded by, you grew up with. So I think that's where it really came from.
Tell me something about your fascination for that particular script.
Sure.
Because that connects to what you said just now. I'm fed up answering the question that I'm not somewhere near from Mount Everest. But you translated your art, you brought that into your art, expressing your culture somewhere there, very close to that. Is it your answer to that question by adopting that Devanagari in your art?
Sure. It feels closer to answering the question that I've ever gotten to, because Nepali letters are, I can confidently tell someone that these are Nepali letters. It's based in the Devanagari script. Devanagari script is used to write Nepali and Sanskrit and Hindi, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest written forms of languages in the world. And the fact that we can write Devanagari so casually, like a kid can write in Devanagari, like Nepali so casually, it's really a point of cultural pride for me to look at my native letters and be like, look, this is so important. So much of history is based on this. So much of written history is based on this. This is really something special, guys. Like, look at this. So getting to say that and being excited about it really got me started.
Everybody is an artist somewhere in the heart, they say, but until somebody recognizes it. Do you remember when was your first work of art? Somebody said that, yes, this is awesome. You should make more and more of it. Do you remember when was that moment?
That's such a good question. I'm smiling. I'm like smiling because there really wasn't that one time, it really took time to realize that this is something I want to do. This is something that I can make happen. It took a very long time. It wasn't like, going to school here and everything. I hadn't even met a real living artist in my life when I was in school. I hadn't been to a gallery, right? So all of that came later in my life. So it wasn't one moment. It was a series of moments that I looked back on and connected the dots. And I think that's what I continue to do, is connect the dots in terms of, okay, this makes sense. This feels good. Let's move forward with it. So I would say it was a series.
You got family support when you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I think it creeped up so slowly that it wasn't a turning point. It was like, I was taking my, whatever I was trying to do at that time along with my artwork. And so it built up over time. So there was no turning point in that, hey, I'm going to do this sort of. But I would say there was one moment after I finished my master's where I spoke to my family and I was like, hey, just give me 1 year where I just want to try this. I feel like I've done everything. I'm confident that I can find a job if this doesn't work out. You just give me 1 year. I just want to try it out. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And it's been 8 years since, so I'm not sure what to say.
You went to the US to pursue your bachelor's degree. Still, you're not aware that you're going to be an artist?
No.
Were you?
No. It wasn't, a lot of people ask me, like, is it a dream come true? And literally, it wasn't even in my dream. It wasn't in my vocabulary that it was something that I could do. Being born and raised here, it wasn't a career path that someone was like, hey, this is a possibility. I think, it happened over time as well. So, like, bachelor's degree is 4 years in the US. I think it was like 3.5 years in, my professor told me, you've taken enough art classes to be an art major. We know you're a globalization studies major, but do you also want to add this? You just need one more class. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Sure. That's how I became an art major. It wasn't like I want to be an artist and I should, And I think even after graduation, I wasn't working as an artist. I was working at an arts nonprofit at that time, but I wasn't working as an artist. And I think it was over time that it happened.
As a student, how were you? You were a bright student, weren't you?
Good question. A lot of people, I think it's an interesting question to ask because I didn't consider myself a bright student when I was up till high school. I was in the same school from like 3rd grade till 12th grade. I wasn't considered a good student. I was considered like a troublemaker. I was always told I was like a bad kid, and that my ideas weren't valid ever. And I always used to have this question like, why can't I answer it this way because this seems like a right answer too. Like I was always curious, you know. I think the first time I really enjoyed learning and I felt like I wanted to do my homework and wanted to read was when I took this anthropology class in college. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is what it feels like to enjoy learning. And I guess that's the point where I started wanting to be a good student. I think before that, it felt like a necessity that was placed on me, as most students might feel. But at that point, I was like, wow, I really am looking forward to doing my homework. I want to read this book so that I know, you know, what's going on in class and stuff like that. So it's a complicated question, to say the least.
Why I asked you this, because you studied at Harvard's in full scholarship.
Correct.
A dull student wouldn't do that. Or a dull student like me would not be able to do that, would I?
I think it's a definition of like what's a good student, right? Okay. Is a good student, you know, saying yes to everything? Is a good student following the instructions exactly like you've given them? Is a good student not asking any questions and just nodding your head in agreement? Or is a good student a critical thinker who will ask you questions back because they're curious? Because I'm that kind of student and I feel like I'm a student of life. I continue learning. So in terms of that, I am a student. But I'm not sure if a good student is like a...
Inquisitiveness in you led you to this career. If I say that, would I be wrong?
No, I think you'd be so right. I think it was that curiosity of like, what if? You know, what if I gave myself 1 year to try this out? And not being scared to kind of take that step and being okay with the fact that it could not work out, and that's okay. But if it works out, that's great too. So being okay with the unknown is such an important thing to have, I think.
Would you say there's no harm in being bad by asking questions or being inquisitive? Follow your passion? Would you say that, or would you say be a good student, do your homework, listen to your parents and teachers? Which one would you suggest?
I would say both. I would say if you're smart, you know, you have to be part of the paradigm too that the school system is set on. Yes, you do need to get good grades. You do need to be a good student. At the same time, also be yourself. If that means being curious and asking questions, then do that. So I think it's not just as simple as like follow your passion.
My next question, Sneha, being a Nepali, abroad for studies, following your passion, was it difficult initially?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you follow your passion, especially when it's something that no one has done before in your vicinity at least. I think that's why it took me a long time to come to it. I think if someone was like, hey, you're really good at art, you should think about being an artist and this is what you need to do to be an artist. If someone told me that, I think I would have been in a different place now, but I think it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what I want to do. And I think it's important to do that at the same time because that's sort of part of finding yourself, right? And once you do, there's really, you know, you kind of feel invincible in a way that you feel like this is me. And, you know, there's no doubt about it.
Tell us something about mural painting. How is it different from other forms of painting or art, let's say? What exactly is mural painting?
Sure. So my background has been in graffiti, and graffiti is based on, it's an art form based on letters. And, you know, it started in New York City by young people at a rebellion. And so they would paint really large pieces of like their name on trains, on walls. And so that's really what got me started. I was really interested in painting. Now murals are, you know, graffiti pieces can be murals. Graffiti is mostly like letters. It's a very big emphasis on looking at letters as images. Murals are large paintings on walls. I think in terms of aesthetics, it really depends on the viewers, like who is viewing it. I think that's the beauty of art, that it's subjective, right? It's like something that I love might not be something that you love, and that's okay. Yeah. So a graffiti piece can be part of a mural. Mural is basically a really large work of art on like buildings and walls, and that's, you know, really large. So the aesthetics can really depend on the artist. It can be anything really. It can be a portrait. It can be someone's name really large. Yeah.
Allow me to ask this question. Is art emotion, expression, or devotion?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's so much of trying to express yourself in the most authentic way you know how. And I think without devotion, that is not possible, because it takes so much to come to understanding who you are, and then even more to understand what you want to say, especially when you're given a platform. So I think I would say it's all of the above.
Any special reason for choosing the first alphabet?
Sure. So when I started realizing that I wanted to use Devanagari script to create my paintings, there was this sense of empowerment that I had. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. It's amazing. And then, I used to try writing different words. But then when the pandemic hit, that was a difficult time for everybody, right? So, I wasn't painting outside. I was just in my apartment. And I came back to painting in a way where I was, I just wanted to feel sane. I just wanted to feel the comfort of maybe home. I was missing home so much at that time. Obviously, it wasn't a good time to come back home. So I was really turning to painting to find that comfort. And I was really thinking about, what is the essence of home? If I can't, is it just a physical space? And if it's not, then what is the essence of home? And one of the sort of like things that I thought about was home is like the same comfort that you have when you can run up the stairs of your home, even when the lights are out. During load shedding, every Nepali kid, you can go up and down your stairs.
They could do that because they know it.
Exactly. That's home, right? That's the comfort of home. That's the familiarity of home. And I wanted to capture that essence. And then I could only write ka. I found myself writing ka over and over again, just like a meditation. And then over time, I was just obsessed with, how I want to write it. And then after that, I was like, okay, now I want to write it the exact same way. Like, I'm pretty sure you can write ka with your eyes closed. Why? Because it's the first letter that we learned how to write. And it's the same as the comfort of home. So when I figured that out, I was like, yes, I just want to write this for now. And that's where, the repetition of like the letter ka began. So.
What satisfies you the most? The price that your work fetches? The comment from critics? Or the relief that you feel after expressing yourself out?
That's a good question. I think it's the reason why I chose this job is because this is that one job for me that lets me be myself 100% real and be myself 100% in the most authentic way I know how. So if in a project I'm able to express myself 100% like that, that is what makes me really happy and satisfied. And and I think it's a powerful thing to be able to be yourself 100% of the time, every single day. And then over time, you also learn to be okay with yourself. So I would say, I think authenticity, my voice is what's most important to me, which is why I do what I do. So I would say that's what would make me more...
What is the best compliment you have received from somebody who loves art after having seen your work?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think it depends on who says it. I think what jumps in my mind right now is when, like in Boston or even here in Kathmandu, when I meet young people and they say, I could really see what you're trying to do, what you're trying to show. Or like in Boston, there might be Nepali families who come and show, like parents, they show their kids, like, this is what it is and this is what she's trying to do and I'm not even around. I think that's the biggest compliment for me.
Let's go to mural painting again. Can you just walk us through the process from the concept, designing and up to the wall? Can you just walk us through the process? How does it go?
Sure. So a big part of the mural, of creating a mural, especially a really large one, is the collaboration element of it. For example, my 6-story tall mural on the MIT building, that took a lot of collaboration. Even before the painting process began, we have to work with the city, permits, the local business district people, and then local stakeholders, people in the neighborhood. I think that's the part that's invisible, but that's the part that takes most time. Can we paint this wall? Is this wall stable to be able to be painted?
Once
right?
you're done with all the, let's say, legals and those sort of formalities, now it's time to conceptualize your vision on the field. How long does it take? Your MIT, let's say, mural we were talking about.
Yeah, I started by like taking photos of the wall, and then I also spend a lot of time in front of the wall to see how people walk around it. I want to see how people experience the wall, what the wall looks like at sunset, at sunrise, because my work is going to be there, and I want it to have a good home. I want it to make sense. So it's a big part of it is understanding the environment that I'm in. And then I start, taking pictures, and then I'll print them, and then I'll sketch on the building, and then start the process.
Sneha is the first Nepali artist whose work has been acquired by 2 world-famous fine art museums. How does it feel, Sneha, to have that heavy cap over your head?
It's pretty exciting. I think it's, the Museum of Fine Arts, the painting that was acquired, it's in their permanent collection, and to think that it's going to be there long after I'm gone for other Nepali people and people of various cultures to be able to see, I think that's a really powerful thing for me to realize. I think it's wonderful to be able to see a contemporary Nepali voice. I think it takes away from the mysticism, the stereotypical kind of box that Nepali people and Nepali culture is usually put into, especially in Western museums. We're seen as this culture of like ancient, of like past, but the truth is we're a living tradition, we're a living culture. We're people who practice all these things till this day. We're not just people of the past. I think it's important to leave behind such stories in important institutions like museums. And the other one is at the Harvard Art Museums. It's a sculpture that they acquired, and it's going to be on long-term view, and it's in their collection as well.
Fine art museums like Boston or Harvard, they are acquiring pieces from artists from Asia as well. Are they becoming more and more open to the international artists as well, or would, if I say that, I'd be just undermining your creative talent?
I think the world is globalizing, has globalized over time, right? And the US is a melting pot of various cultures. I do think there's a realization that there needs to be a representation for all these cultures that make up the country. And so it's an important time to be part of that conversation.
So you were the first to be from this country. Now, does that inspire you to work harder and what's next am I going to do sort of thing? Does that give you more inspiration or make you more desperate?
It encourages me. It gives me a signal that I'm doing something right, and it feels right. And people from various parts of Nepal that I meet in Boston and other parts of the US, I feel encouraged by them when they see it. I think people who visited Nepal and are not necessarily Nepali see Nepal in my work, and that's a point of pride. It just gives me a green signal that I'm doing something right, and I'm motivated to keep going.
How does it feel to be the cultural ambassador of the country in the melting pot?
Around
the world you're traveling now. How does it feel?
That's a huge phrase to take on.
You are, Sneha. You are the first artist from this country to be represented there. Not just represented, but acquired by those institutions. So that does give you the tag of being our cultural ambassador abroad.
I feel like it's important to carry on the work that I'm doing. I think it's important to share to younger people what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, so that maybe the younger generation can do it even better than I am doing it, and I hope that they do. I think it's so important to carry my people wherever I go, however the best I can. At the end of the day, I'm just one person, so hopefully there's more people who get the opportunity to do the same and represent, their part of their Nepali life.
This is Declassified, and we are talking with Sneha Shrestha, contemporary Nepali mural artist, sculpture, graffiti-based artist, and a fusion artist. In the next part of the conversation, now we talk about the best works of Sneha. Which of the works that you have done so far is closest to your heart? I would be definitely not doing justice to you by asking this question. I know you are the creator. Everything is very, very dear to you. But still, if you have to pick one,
sure.
Which one would you pick?
I mean, my mentor has always told me you're only as good as your last piece. And so I would love to talk about, you know, my most recent show at the Institute of Contemporary Art. These are pictures from the Institute of Contemporary Art where I'm currently exhibiting my work. It's part of the Foster Prize show. The Foster Prize is one of the most prestigious art prizes in Boston, and it's something that I've been eyeing for the past 6 years, and I've really wanted that prize really badly. And you know, you can't apply for it, you have to get selected for it. And when you get selected, you get to have the show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, and it's for Boston artists. And so to be selected for that felt incredible. And when something I wanted came to fruition, it was like, okay, it's time to do what you felt ready to do for a long time, is have sort of like this first solo museum show, and you get to show a big body of work.
How are you expressing yourself in these two pieces?
Sure, so these two pieces are part of that show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA in Boston. These two pieces are my first art-shaped paintings. These are 7 feet each, and they contribute to the architectural feel of the space. In this, you see fractals of the Devanagari script. So they're not necessarily words, but if you looked at the alphabet really zoomed in really close, that's what you would see, in my opinion.
I can see Ka on the blue side of the canvas.
Yes. So like, you know, I call it like the shadow part. So if you think of an arch, that's sort of like the shadow part of the painting. That's where you see the repetition of Ka. And I brought the Ka there because my first painting acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, that painting is a repetition of Ka over and over again.
Let's move on to the next one.
So this is the painting that was acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and it so happened that when my mom was visiting me, it was on view, and so I got to take her there and, you know, show it, and her, you know, reaction just...
This must be very close to you. Ka there, your mother, Kalpana there, and you are the Imagine there. So this is a masterpiece,
This was a special moment for sure, and this was a painting I actually created in 2020 during that time that I told you about during the pandemic, you know. And the curator, Laura Weinstein at the MFA, recognized that, and she chose this as the painting to be acquired.
Probably this is the largest piece you have, of mural you have painted?
It's not the largest, but it is the tallest. It's about 60 feet tall, so like 6 stories. And it's in the heart of Cambridge, and it's at the confluence of various neighborhoods. You know, MIT is right there, so a lot of students get to see it. A lot of Nepali students at MIT have shown me you know, that they're there and like tagged me on it, which is super cool. Yeah.
You just do it all alone, right? Or you just need some helping hand to finish this piece?
No, I wish I could get a helping hand, but because it's my handwriting on the wall, I do it all myself.
So all alone, apart
Correct.
from the machinery that has been used, it's all you who has done it?
Yes, and I operate the machine as well. So the articulating boom lift that you see me here, I operate it myself. And my photographer was on the other end of it taking this photo.
Okay, this is how it looks once it's done.
Yeah, so for scale, you can see like tiny people on the bottom.
So it's a really huge mural. Tell me something about this one. This I can clearly see Ka, your very dear Ka there. Tell me something. Where is it?
I think this is in Michigan. This was the moment where I really was dedicated to the letter Ka, and I felt confident enough to paint it so large and be able to tell people, you know, this is the first letter of the Nepali alphabet, and this is what it means to me. And so I feel like this moment was that moment where I felt like I have arrived. I'm so confident in telling people about this language that they know nothing about. But I felt, you know, that I could.
Tell us something about this one, Sneha.
Sure. So this is a sculpture. It's called Dwar Palika. This is the sculpture that was acquired by the Harvard Art Museums. It's currently on view. We actually just installed it before I left. And, you know, my parents were able to see it. And this is, you see the repetition of ka. It's made out of brass and powder-coated steel. And yeah, it's sort of suspended from the ceiling, and it kind of has this aura about her. I call her because there's that energy that she has, and there's a environment that's like built around her because of the shadows that are laid on the floor. So it's a really special piece for me.
When the creator like you hand your piece of work to museums like this, how does it feel? Like shedding your skin or something like that?
It feels emotional because I remember the day that I packed this. You know, it takes a long time for acquisitions, for museum acquisitions to happen. And so when I recognized that it was the last day that I packed her up and dropped her off at this storage facility. It's like, you don't drop it off at the museum. So storage facility, and I just said, the next time I see her, she's going to be, installed. And I definitely had a tear in my eye, and I was just like, wow, it feels like such a moment to kind of take in. And it's, it's bittersweet for sure, because you work towards something for so long, and then it's going to be at this really important place for a very long time. It's definitely an important moment.
Sneha, let's talk about this one. This looks really, really large.
Yeah, I mean, it's over, it's a pretty large mural. It's in East Boston. It's by the water. Mm-hmm. So you can see it from the other shore of Boston. And it was this really special piece that I got to do, and I wanted to make sure that I did 3 circular shapes, because 3 is such a sacred number with everything that we do in our rituals and pujas and everything. And so I really wanted to talk about that. And it is, it's one of my largest works.
Fantastic. We have so much fascinating these works, Sneha.
Thank you.
Please allow me to do this, okay? Pick one of these pictures. Of all these pictures we have done and your sculptures we have displayed here, if you had to, okay? You can't escape this.
Okay.
Pick one only.
Okay. I think I would pick the Cambridge one. The Cambridge mural that you saw, the really tall one, because that tested me in different ways. That it's kind of like building a muscle, right? You're tested and there's pain, and then you grow stronger from it. I think it's one of those pieces. That's why it's so close to my heart. And also, so many people have kind of, at this point, the mural kind of belongs to the city. It's not my work anymore. So many people attach their stories. So many people have gotten married in front of the mural, take their wedding photos.
You must be a special guest in those ceremonies.
No, but I get sent these photos. Young Nepali students at MIT take selfies in front of it. I mean, it's really part of the city's DNA at this point. And so I'm really honored to have that work there.
Fantastic. The works of Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine, some of her works. These are just some of the works that she has produced. There are so many things. She's working globally, working with multinational projects where she's working not only in the US but around the world. Now, last part of our conversation, Sneha, you are an inspiration to the youth. What message do you have for them? All those who want to pursue their passion and build a career out of it, or let's say pursue their passion only.
Sure, I would say take time to figure out what you want to do. It might not be as soon as you graduate high school. It might not be as soon as you finish your bachelor's degree. It's a process. I would say look at it as a process and make sure that you find joy in the process. And there's no really this end place that you get to that you'll find happiness in. I would say if you're happy in the process, then you're really closer to finding yourself. Figure out what is the most authentic version of you and kind of use that as a compass to pursue whatever you're pursuing. So the message here isn't go out and be an artist. The message is, find out who you are and what you love doing. And that might not be your job immediately, but just finding something that you love doing is such an important part of being. So, yeah.
What message would you like to give to the youngsters who are looking up to you as inspiration?
I would say it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to ask questions. And it's so important to have mentors. I think those are the things that I would love to share with younger people.
What is life, Sneha?
Life? I think it's a process. I think it's like this fun process that you get to like try different things out in. And yeah, I think that's what life is.
Striking a balance in life, how important it is.
I think it's so important to balance out. I think it's important, first of all, to find a compass of what guides you. For me, what guides me is my happiness, and that could mean in different ways. That means being able to see my parents as often as I want. That means being a good friend. That means building communities in both of my homes, in Kathmandu and in Boston. These are things that really kind of make my life, and kind of make things clear, like what are important to me, and that's my community, that's my friends and my family. And I think once you have that compass, everything kind of starts falling into place.
Last question to you, Sneha. Your career goals and your personal goals.
Sure. I think this sounds so, I'm not trying to boast it, but I think I'm living it as, you know, like career and personal goals. As an artist, it kind of melds into one thing. And I want to take both of them side by side. So if my career helps me express myself even better, that's amazing. Things that I might say no to, that might be, you know, for my personal life. And I think balancing those things is quite important. But both of that is still me. So I got to take both of them in a balanced way. So, yeah. Okay, so I have something that I brought for you. It's a sticker. And it has the first letter, Ka, on it. And it's something that I do for everybody that I meet. I give them a sticker. And the background for that is really, you know, when graffiti writers meet each other, we exchange stickers. Street artists, murals, we exchange stickers. And I really like to do that. And stickers something, you know, playful and a little bit of joy. So, yeah.
My privilege, Sneha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful conversation with a Nepali contemporary artist who is definitely a world-class artist, Sneha Shrestha, whose name in itself is Imagine. That correlates to her roots, her mother. Thank you so much for watching this show, and definitely do follow us on our website, our social media handles. Until next time, from me and my entire crew of Declassified, bye-bye.
Nepal's festivals are like colors on a canvas. Communities celebrate occasions that are as diverse as the country itself. These festivals hold deep personal meaning for individuals, going far beyond mere celebration. They are not just events. They are emotional, cultural, and spiritual lifelines that nurture identity, community, and inner happiness. For Nepalis, every festival, whether it honors gods, ancestors, nature, or the cycle of seasons, is ultimately a celebration of life itself. Birth, life, and death are all celebrated with utmost joy and separate rituals as per the communities. It's a reminder that life, like the changing seasons, is full of both light and shadow, and each festival teaches to embrace both with gratitude.
हरेक चाडपर्वमा एउटा हैन धान रोप्दा फेरि खेतमा हामी पूजा गरेर हुन्छौं धान थन्काउँदा हामीले हवन गरेर हुन्छौं नुहाई खाने भनेर भनिन्छ नवान्न प्राशनको विधानहरू छुट्टै छ त्यो सम्पूर्ण कुराहरूले हाम्रो प्रकृतिमा पनि त्यति नै सुप्रभाव पार्छ र मान्छेको शरीरमा मनमा र आत्मासम्म पनि यसले सुप्रभाव पार्छ आनन्द दिन्छ सत र चित राम्रो आनन्द र चिरकालसम्म रहने टिकाउ आनन्द दिन्छ भन्ने मान्यताले गर्दा फेरि यो सबै चाडपर्वहरू हामी मनाइरहेका हुन्छौं.
Major Hindu celebrations like Dasai and Tihar unite families in devotion and joy and is celebrated by majority of Nepalis. While Buddha Jayanti, Loshar, Sakela Udhauli, Shakela Ubhauli, Maghi Shankranti or Maghi showcase the spiritual and cultural vibrancy of Buddhist, Kirat and indigenous communities. Festivals such as Indrazatra, Gaizatra and Yomari Punhi blend history with celebration. For women, Tees and Risi Panchami serve as expressions of faith and sisterhood. And in the Tarai, Chhat embodies purity, discipline and devotion to the sun and nature.
भौगोलिक हिसाबले सानो भइकन फेरि कस्तो भने जातिको हिसाबले पनि थुप्रै ट्राइबहरू भएको यो सबै एउटै जातिको मात्रै छैन तर हामीका धार्मिक सहिष्णुता छ रिलिजियस टलरेन्स भन्छौं त्यो विश्वलाई हामीले दिएको एउटा उदाहरण हो हामीका हिन्दूहरुको चाडपर्व पनि बौद्धहरुले पनि मनाउँछन् इस्लामहरुले पनि मनाइराखेका हुन्छन् नितान्त हिन्दूहरुको जस्तो लक्ष्मी पूजाको कुरा गर्यो दशैंकी कुरा गर्यो यहाँ राष्ट्र प्रमुखहरुको बेलामा हिन्दूहरु बाहेक अन्य धर्मावलम्बीहरु पनि टीका थाप्नलाई हामीका आशीर्वाद लिने चलन छ त्यो लिनलाई गइराखेका हुन्छन्.
Festivals here reflect its rich cultural diversity and deep sense of community. Shared laughter, music and rituals foster emotional healing and strengthen social bonds. Experts say gatherings and celebrations nurture positivity, hope and meaning.
यो त एकदमै ठूलो कस्तो कुरा रहेछ भने यो रिचार्ज गर्ने भन्छ नि हामी गरिरहेको परम्पराबाट गरिरहेको यस्ता कार्यहरू गर्दा चाहिँ हामीमा के हुन्छ त स्वतस्फूर्त रूपमा हामी चाहिँ नि एकदम फेरि अब हामीलाई एउटा भित्रबाट पनि शान्ति मिल्छ सुख मिल्छ त्यसकारण यो चाहिँ आवश्यकै चीज हो.
Amid modernization, festivals remain vital anchors connecting people to their culture and roots. The togetherness of families, the glow of butter lamps in monasteries during Loshar, and the rhythm of dhime drums in Nevari processions all tell the same story. Nepal is a land where festivals are the very heartbeat of its people.
At its center,
lies the extraordinary statue of Lord Vishnu, known here as Jal Narayan. This massive stone figure, half submerged in a sacred pond, shows Vishnu reclining on the coils of Sheshnag, the king of serpents. Resting on the cosmic ocean, this form represents divine balance and protection, making Buranilkantha one of the most revered Vishnu shrines in Nepal.
यहाँ विशेष गरी हाम्रो वैशाख महिनाभरि मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। त्यसमा पनि वैशाख 1 गतेलाई विशेष रूपले मानिन्छ र वर्षमा 5 चोटि वैशाख 1 गते भगवानलाई विशेष गरगहनाहरूले सजाइन्छ। पूजापाठ विशेष पूजाहरू हुन्छ, महास्नानहरू आदि हुन्छन्। त्यस्तै गरी वैशाख 1 गते, वैशाख पूर्णिमा अनि कार्तिक शुक्ल द्वादशी र कार्तिक पूर्णिमामा विशेष मेला लाग्दछ र यस ठाउँको पर्व अनुसारको विभिन्न समयमा एकादशीमा, शनिबार, बुधबार, बिहीबार त्यस्ता विशेष पर्वहरूमा ठुलो घुइँचो भिड लाग्ने परम्पराहरू चल्दै आएका छन्।
Two major festivals, Hari Sayani Ekadashi in Asar and Hari Bodhini Ekadashi in Kartik, are celebrated with great devotion. Ekadashi, observed on the 11th day of each lunar fortnight, is a sacred fasting day dedicated to Lord Vishnu. It is believed to purify the mind and body and deepen spiritual discipline. During these festivals, the temple becomes lively with worship, fasting rituals, chanting, and the lighting of oil lamps. Even on regular days, hundreds of people visit to pray, meditate, and experience the calm environment of the temple. The history of Buranilkantha is believed to date back to the Lichavi period, showing the artistic and cultural depth of ancient Nepal. The 5-meter-long black stone idol lies gracefully on the serpent bed, holding the conch, chakra, mace, and lotus, symbols of protection, cosmic order, and divinity. According to legend, a farmer and his wife discovered the statue while plowing their field. Their plow struck stone, and the idol is said to have bled. Shocked, the villagers gathered and uncovered the figure with their hands. Afraid they had committed a sin, the farmers apologized to the god for disturbing the idol. Stories say that Lord Vishnu then appeared before the people as Narayan in forms similar to those worshipped in Badrinath and Kedarnath. This is believed to be the origin of the name Nilakantha.
किसानले हाम्रो खलोमा जहाँ खन्यौं त्यहीबाट रगत आइरहेको छ भन्ने कुराहरू चाहिँ फैलिए अनि गाउँका किसानहरू जो खेतमा काम गरिरहेका थिए ती सबै जम्मा भएर हातको माध्यमले खन्दै जाँदाखेरि यो भगवानको दिव्यमान विग्रह प्राकट्य भयो। प्राकट्य भइसकेपछि तिनी किसानलाई पुरा चिन्ता भयो, चिन्तित भए। मैले त ठुलो अपराध गरेछु, भगवान यहाँ हुनुहुँदो रहेछ मलाई थाहा थिएन र भगवानसँग एकदम अनुनय विनय गर्न थाले, रुन कराउन लागे। साक्षात हेर्दाखेरि भगवान चाहिँ सामान्य रूपमा, सामान्य दृष्टिले हेर्दाखेरि नारायणको रूपमा देखिनुहुन्छ, तर भगवान चाहिँ बद्रीनाथ र केदारनाथजीको स्वरूपमा आउनु भएको अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ पूर्णता दिनको लागि नाम चाहिँ उनको नाम नीलकण्ठ थियो। त्यही भएर भगवानले तिम्रो नाम र मेरो नाम प्रसिद्धि गर भनेपछि नीलकण्ठ भनेर चाहिँ नाम रहने भयो।
Although open to the sky, the temple is an important example of traditional Nepali architecture, simple, symmetrical, and symbolic. The area also serves as a gurukul, offering teachings in Sanskrit, Vedas, and classical forms of worship. Surrounding the temple are peepal trees, valued for their religious, cultural, and environmental importance. They provide shade and a sense of calm to the space. At the northern entrance are the idols of Three Dev and Three Devi, Shiva, Saraswati and Ganesh. They symbolize power, knowledge and auspicious beginnings. At the center stands a statue of Hanuman, representing strength, devotion, and loyalty. Every morning from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., priests perform the daily ritual, bathing the statue, offering fresh clothes, flowers, incense, and holy water. The sounds of conch shells, bells, and chanting create a devotional atmosphere.
I have deep faith in Buddha Nilkantha, which is why I come here often. Every visit brings me a sense of peace and comfort.
Buddha Nilkantha is also connected to nature. The green forest of Shivapuri rises just above the temple, adding to its peaceful surroundings.
यो क्षेत्र चाहिँ वास्तवमा अब यो भगवान विष्णुको चाहिँ एउटा आस्थाको केन्द्रबिन्दु.
This place is a center of devotion for all followers of Lord Vishnu. Most people come here with the belief that their prayers will be heard and their wishes fulfilled.
For many visitors, the temple acts as an entry point to both spiritual and natural beauty, attracting pilgrims from Nepal and abroad. Today, Buddha Nilkantha stands not only as a religious site but also as a cultural heritage treasure. The government, local communities and devotees continue to work together to protect and preserve it for future generations.
United States says it has carried out a new wave of military strikes against Iranian targets near the strategic Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's southern coastline. According to the U.S. Central Command, the operation targeted missile and drone launch sites, naval assets, ammunition storage facilities, communication networks, and coastal surveillance systems. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most important maritime choke points, with around a fifth of global oil shipments passing through the waterway, making any escalation in the region a major international concern. The latest strikes come amid heightened tensions between Washington and Tehran, raising fears of further instability across the Middle East. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has released images it says show missile and drone launches targeting U.S. positions in Bahrain and Kuwait. The footage comes amid escalating tensions between Tehran and Washington, with both sides exchanging threats and military actions in the region. The reported attacks have raised concerns over the security of U.S. bases and key Gulf allies as regional tensions continue to intensify. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington could expand its military strikes on Iran next week to include critical infrastructure such as power plants and bridges if Tehran does not agree. The warning comes amid escalating tensions between the two countries and ongoing efforts to pressure Iran through military and diplomatic measures.
And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Israeli and Lebanese delegations have arrived in Rome for a second day of U.S. brokered negotiations aimed at advancing a ceasefire framework agreed upon last month. The talks follow 5 previous rounds of discussions in Washington and are focused on implementing measures to reduce tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border. Lebanese officials are seeking progress on the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon, a key demand under the framework agreement. The negotiations come after months of cross-border hostilities that have displaced thousands of civilians and heightened fears of a wider regional conflict. Mediators hope the latest round will help build confidence between the two sides and pave the way for a more lasting de-escalation. Israeli forces have carried out controlled explosions in parts of southern Lebanon as talks between Israel and Lebanon continue in Rome under U.S. mediation. The blast took place in the towns of Deir Sarian and Kfar Tibnet, according to reports, while negotiations focused on a framework agreement aimed at easing border tensions. Israel has said it is prepared to withdraw from 2 areas in southern Lebanon as part of the ongoing discussions. The talks are part of wider diplomatic efforts to stabilize the border region after months of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. At least 1 person has died and 2 others are missing after a boat carrying 19 people sank near Alcatraz Island in the United States. Emergency crews responded to the incident in San Francisco Bay, where aerial footage showed rescue vessels surrounding the partially submerged boat. Officials said the search operation continued for the missing passengers as authorities worked to determine the cause of the accident. Alcatraz Island, a former federal prison and one of San Francisco's most visited landmarks, attracts millions of tourists each year. China says it firmly opposes a proposed U.S. sanctions bill targeting countries that continue to buy Russian energy, calling the measure unacceptable. The bipartisan legislation, backed by President Donald Trump, is intended to increase pressure on Moscow over its war in Ukraine by targeting nations that help finance Russia's energy export. Beijing's response underscores growing tensions between the world's 2 largest economies over trade, sanctions, and the conflict in Ukraine.
中方坚决反对没有国际法依据、未经联合国安理会授权的非法单边制裁，将采取一切必要措施，坚定维护本国企业和公民的正当权益。搞双重标准和胁迫施压，最终只会搬起石头砸自己的脚。
Israeli forces have demolished a Palestinian home in the village of Al-Darad near Yatta in the occupied West Bank, citing a lack of building permits. The demolition has drawn criticism from the family, who said they had a court order temporarily preventing the action until a Supreme Court hearing. House demolitions over permit disputes remain a long-standing and sensitive issue in the West Bank, where Palestinians face significant restrictions on construction. The incident comes amid continued tensions between Israelis and Palestinians across the territory. Traffic has surged at Venezuela's Arturo Miquelena International Airport in Valencia after earthquakes damaged the country's main aviation hub in Maiquetía. Officials say the airport has seen passenger numbers rise significantly, with long queues forming as travelers are redirected through the facility. The increase in demand has placed additional pressure on airport services as authorities manage the disruption caused by the seismic damage. Valencia has become a key alternative gateway while repairs continue at the affected airport. The Democratic Republic of Congo says confirmed Ebola cases have surpassed 2,000, with more than 750 deaths recorded since the outbreak began in May. The World Health Organization has warned that the actual number of infections could be significantly higher as hidden transmission and the spread of the virus to new provinces complicate efforts to contain the outbreak. The WHO says this is the fastest growing Ebola outbreak it has managed, with cases now reported across 5 provinces, including areas linked by major transport routes. Health authorities are expanding surveillance and treatment efforts, while clinical trials are underway to test potential treatments for the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola. Seaweed harvesters in Western France are warning that their centuries-old industry is under threat after what they describe as one of the worst harvests on record. Rising sea temperatures and recurring marine heat waves have severely damaged the vast kelp forest around the Moline archipelago off the coast of Brittany, causing seaweed yields to decline sharply. The port of Leneldet, home to one of Europe's largest seaweed harvesting industries, has relied on the trade for more than 200 years. Scientists say marine heat waves linked to climate change are placing increasing pressure on coastal ecosystems and the communities that depend on them. A Soyuz 2.1A rocket carrying the Soyuz MS-29 crewed spacecraft has launched from Kazakhstan's Baikonur Cosmodrome, sending 3 astronauts on a fast-track journey to the International Space Station. The crew includes Roscosmos cosmonauts Pyotr Dubrov and Anna Kikina, along with NASA astronaut Anil Menon. The mission marks another joint effort between Russia and the United States in human spaceflight as international crews continue operations aboard the orbiting laboratory. The spacecraft is expected to dock with the space station after a shortened journey compared with traditional missions. Thailand is set to host the 2026 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group in Bangkok from October 12 to 18, marking the second time the country has hosted the Global Financial Summit since 1991. The event at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center is expected to attract more than 15,000 delegates from 191 countries, including policymakers, finance ministers, and central bankers. Thailand said the summit will boost its economy and global reputation with a focus on digital transformation, climate adaptation, resilience, and demographic challenges. The Bank of Thailand will also introduce the Bangkok Blueprint, a policy framework aimed at promoting secure, inclusive digital finance and strengthening global financial cooperation. Canada says it is aiming to finalize a trade agreement with the Mercosur group of South American countries by the end of the year, according to Foreign Minister Anita Anand during her visit to Brazil. The proposed deal would strengthen economic ties between Canada and the 4-member Mercosur bloc, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Ottawa is seeking to expand its international trade partnerships amid shifting global economic conditions and growing competition for markets. The talks are expected to focus on increasing trade flows, investment opportunities, and cooperation across key sectors. A young Russian model has gone viral after social media users highlighted her striking resemblance to Norwegian football star Erling Haaland. Anastasia Kostromina attracted millions of views by posting a playful side-by-side comparison with the Manchester City striker, prompting widespread discussion and online reactions. She said she was initially surprised by the comparisons, but has since embraced the attention with a sense of humor. The story reflects the growing influence of social media trends, where celebrity lookalikes of viral content continue to engage audiences around the world. French football fans are expressing disappointment after their team's 2-0 defeat to Spain in the FIFA World Cup semi-finals, ending France's hopes of winning a third world title. Supporters gathered in Paris described the result as a painful setback after another deep run in the tournament under coach Didier Deschamps. France, champions in 1998 and 2018, had been aiming to add a third World Cup trophy to its record. Spain now advances to the final, while France will compete in the third place playoff.
In the natural splendor, the silver-like peaks or the Himalayas glisten. Cradling a pond filled with milk in its lap, the Numbur Himal gleams. The Dudkunda, meaning a milk pond in Nepal's northeastern district of Solukhumbu, is truly the gateway to the paradise. The Numbur, Khatang and Karyalung mountains seem to smile at all times. Adorned with a garland of colorful flowers, the Dudkunda is overflowing as if filled with milk. The very sight defines nature at its best. Feels as if the Numbur mountain is giving motherly affection, holding the lake in its lap. The beauty is so serene and virgin that one fears not to stain it by touching. Indeed, Dudkunda is nature at its purest form. Located at Solu Dudkunda municipality, Taksindu, the natural paradise draws many visitors. No matter how many words are spent describing it, they all feel inadequate upon reaching there. The name itself is fulfilling and equally sacred.
हजारौं नरनारीहरू चाहिँ तीर्थयात्रीहरू दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ। म पनि पुगिरहेँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, भएन मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो हैन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल हैन, जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Situated at an altitude of 4,531 meters above the sea level, Dudkunda is a sacred pilgrimage site of culture and nature. It feels like nature has blessed this place, and culturally, it has bound all castes and ethnicities in a thread of unity. There are various legends and sayings about Dudkunda. One argument is that the pond was formed during the creation of the Himalayas and was discovered by local sheep and yak herders. According to another legend, in ancient times, a yak would go to a stone where the pond is located and offer its milk every day. Later, the place was found to be a pond filled with milk, leading to its name, Dudh Kunda. This has also led to the belief that gods and goddesses reside here. There are 3 different routes to reach Dudh Kunda. One route is through Salleri, Faplu, Taksindu and Sasra Beni. Another route goes via Lukla, the gateway to the Everest, through Nunthala, Taksindu and Sahasra Beni. Nature has truly blessed the Solu Dudh Kunda municipality. Truly, just like the majestic Mount Everest, Dudh Kunda has the potential to be the destination for everyone in the days to come. It is a thread of unity among all castes and ethnicities. Just like the holy water of Dudh Kunda, it will become a pure and excellent destination.
In the high mountains, where the air thins and silence deepens, an ancient discipline endures. More than art, this is meditation in motion. A prayer woven into canvas, finding the divine within. This is Thanka.
Thanka भने चाहिँ त्यो समतल भूमि भने हो के हैन त्यो स्पेस भने हो त्यो रेसिममा पनि तपाईले सेतो गणमा स्पेस देख्यो नि हैन हो त्यसमा चाहिँ का लेख्ने भने चाहिँ बुद्धको वचन लेख्ने भने हो के त्यो बुद्धको वचन बागल चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ शुद्ध छ हैन राम्रो छ त्यसले चाहिँ मानव जीवनलाई चाहिँ कल्याण मानव जीवनलाई मात्र नभएर प्राणी जगतलाई नै चाहिँ कल्याण गर्ने चीज हो थाङ्गा त्यही भएर चाहिँ जीवन जिउनेसँग चाहिँ रिलेटेड छ भनेर भने हो त्यो चाहिँ पञ्चतत्वको रूपमा चाहिँ त्यो चिनाएर त्यो तत्त्वलाई त्यो ठाउँमा जानुपर्छ भनेरको यो त आशयको रूपमा चाहिँ लगेको हुन्छ
Thanka painting is more than art. It's devotion on canvas, rooted in Buddha philosophy, traditions, and shaped by centuries of Buddhist influence. Each stroke tells a story of enlightenment.
This is not from painter's own mind. This is from the book. So painters, they have to strictly follow the rules. Through meditation, we can understand our true nature. And when we understand our true nature, we understand everybody. And our true nature is compassion. Our true nature is wisdom. And when we practice these things, we find peace, and that peace is permanent.
Thanka painting is not merely creation. It is consecration, rooted in Buddhist philosophy and perfected through centuries. Each brushstroke carries the weight of a mantra, each color a fragment of enlightenment.
खाइबो भन्छ हामीले चाहिँ आर्टिस्टलाई त्यो खाइबाले चाहिँ किन आएर चाहिँ ढोग्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ तीनचोटी ढोग्यो नि त्यो शरण गमन गरे हो के म बुद्धको शरणमा छु भन्ने हो त्यो चाहिँ बुद्ध चित्त उत्पात गर्ने भन्छ के चित्त तपाईको शुद्ध हुनु पर्यो हैन त्यो शुद्ध भएर लेखेको थाङ्गाले चाहिँ अरूलाई पनि राम्रो गर्ने पनि सबै प्राणी हितको लागि चाहिँ यो मैले गरेको लेखेको बुद्ध वचनले चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ राम्रो होस् भन्ने आशाका साथ चाहिँ छोड्नु पर्छ कि हो यसरी चाहिँ लेखेको हुन्छ थाङ्गा चाहिँ
The Thanka is a visual sculpture, a spiritual map to transcendence. Every artist begins not with imagination, but with surrender to discipline, devotion, and compassion for all living beings. To paint is to meditate. To complete is to awaken. In today's studios, the old and the new converge. Tutors like Sushan Subedi introduce curious travelers to ancient grammar of lines and color.
All of the painting you are seeing over here, so these are known as Thanka, which is a Tibetan word which means the painting that is painted on a cotton surface. Okay, so first of all what we do is, we just take a normal cotton like this and we stretch it on a wooden frame very hardly and very tightly. Okay, so while tying it very hard on normal cotton, what happens is there are some millions of tiny holes. So if you pour the color can bleed. So we cannot do the painting on a normal cotton. So we have a process, we call it the process of canvas.
While at nearby workshops, artists like Sonam still lose themselves in the ritual of creation.
यो चाहिँ बम्बई ड्याङ कटन जुन यसैबाट चाहिँ हाम्रो ट्रेडिसनल आर्टको चाहिँ थाङ्का फर्स्ट प्रोसेसिङ चाहिँ यहीँबाट हुन्छ। सरेस भन्ने गरिन्छ हामीले, यो चाहिँ खासमा र याक स्किन भनेर चाहिँ प्रयोग गरिन्छ पहिलेको त्यो हिस्ट्री हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ। अनि अब यो चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ माध्यम चाहिँ यो ग्लुको काम गर्छ यसले चाहिँ। यो र हामीले चाहिँ माटो मिसाएर चाहिँ यसमा पानी लगाएर अब यसको कति मात्रा उ गरेर तताइसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि अब हामीले कत्रो क्यानभस बनाउने कतिवटा बनाउने त्यो हिसाबले हामीले यो सरेस माटो भनिन्छ त्यो मिलाएर मात्रा मिलाएर हामीले प्रोसेसिङमा जानु सकिन्छ। हामीले चाहिँ यो क्यानभस बनाउँदाखेरि समय अनुसार मौसम अनुसारले पनि बनाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ। घाम लाग्ने बेलामा बनाउनु सक्यो भने हामीले छिटो आफ्नो कामहरू छिटो छरिदो बनाउन सकिन्छ र झरी पर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ हामीलाई निकै समय लाग्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो घाम लाग्ने बेलामा हामीले बनाउन सक्यौं भने छिटो अनि यसलाई आफूलाई चाहिने मात्रामा पटक पटक यता दुई साइडमा चाहिँ क्लिन गर्नु सफा गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। अनि कतिको मात्रा हामीलाई चाहिन्छ त्यो पुगिसकेपछि हामीले त्यसपछि स्केचमा जानुपर्ने हुन्छ। यो सुकिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा यसरी पनि हामीले चेक गर्न सकिन्छ हामीले कतिको तयारी भयो भएन। यो आवाज आउनु पर्ने हुन्छ। जस्तै अब ओसिएको छ भने बेग्लै आवाज आउँछ, सुकेको छ भने राम्रो आवाज आउँछ। यो
Thanka painting begins with the canvas stretched tight, once upon wood, now upon iron frames. The glue that seals it, once drawn from the yak, now sourced from the maple or synthesized in a lab. Yet in the scent of drying paste, the artist still reads the readiness of the soul of the painting.
So after the sketching is done, second thing we do is the coloring. So while coloring, we have different levels of artists in our school. Like from the beginner level, we have intermediate and the master level of artists. So if you go with the beginner intermediate, they use the acrylic colors. But if you go with the master level of artists, so they use the stone colors like this. Okay, so why they use the stone color is stone being a natural color. So while we apply this sort of color in the art, it remains for the longer period of time because natural thing, it doesn't have expiry date. Yeah, so the meaning and the philosophy of an art, the art itself, it is preserved for the longer period of time. So that's why they use the stone. And for the finishing of an art, so we use 24 karat real gold on the painting. Okay, so why we use the gold is not to make the painting very expensive, but if you see in Hinduism, in Buddhism, gold it is signified as in purity. So to purify the meaning and the philosophy behind the art, so we use 24 karat real gold.
Every line follows a rule, every proportion holds meaning. The face of the deity isn't imagined, it slowly reveals itself, guided by sacred patterns that keep harmony between the world outside and the spirit within. The colors come from the earth, crushed stones and minerals mixed with glue, made to last for generations. Lapis brings purity, malachite speaks of compassion, and cinnabar carries wisdom. These are just colors, they are prayers in pigment.
प्राचीन कालमा चाहिँ यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ पाँचवटा कलर लेख्ने हो। 5 कलर जस्तो अग्नि तत्त्व, वायु तत्त्व, माटो तत्त्व, हावा तत्त्व, 5 तत्त्वले बनाएको हो। त्यो 5 तत्त्वले किन बनाएको भने त्यो 5 तत्त्वबाट हाम्रो शरीर बनाएको छ नि। यो थाङ्गा भनेको चाहिँ वास्तवमा के हो भने जे जति थाङ्गामा छ त्यो हामीसँगै छ, जे हामीसँग त्यो थाङ्गामै छ। त्यसकारण त्यो बेला चाहिँ त्यो नेचुरल, हामी पनि नेचुरली बनाएको हो नि त, प्रकृतिले बनाएको नि। थाङ्गा पनि प्रकृति नै हो। त्यसमा अलिक अहिले चाहिँ कलर के छ भने 5वटा कलरबाट हामीले मिसाउँदाखेरि अर्को कलर बन्छ। त्यो 5वटा कलर मात्रै पुग्दैन। त्यो बेला त्यो रियालिटी थाङ्गा नजिक बसेर साधना गर्दा हामीलाई त्यो भाइब्रेसन आउँछ, पोजिटिभ कुरा आउँछ। यो त खालि बुद्धले टिकाको टिचिङ गर्नुभएको नेचुरल फेनोमेना छ नि, नेचर माइन्ड छ नि, त्योसँग रिलेटेड छ यो।
Home Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thanga artist from the spiritual heart of Buddha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
थाङ्गा चाहिँ मैले 1970 सिक्न सुरुवात गरेको। मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो, साइला दाइ। मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो। पाटन, भक्तपुर, छामेल, दरबार स्क्वायरमा यस्तै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो। अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ, आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो। त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ, आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि।
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thanga painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन, किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दो रहेछ। त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो। विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन, 5 मिनट 10 मिनटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो। त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो, एउटा मात्रै थियो। अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ।
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ। यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ। त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा, किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग।
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Buddha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामसाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन, त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन, कलेज छैन, हस्पिटल छैन, रोजगार छैन। त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो। अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर दाल भात खाएको। अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ, स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यस कारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अन्त टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यही तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा मैले पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यु लिन्छु त्यसपछि 1 हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि 1 हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन उ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्वसम्पादकमा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपबाट भनौँ लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो त उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै ठाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन विदेशहरूले जानेकै थिएन उनीहरूले त्यो सुरु आउँदाखेरि सानो एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर नेट किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मात्रै लाइन थियो अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका युरोप तपाईँको यो सिङ्गापुर ताइवान मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ त्यस कारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ यसको मार्केट छ
As an artist, entrepreneur, and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others, and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे पनि 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ त्यो त निश्चित हो नि एउटै निश्चित छैन कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन तर त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढ्यो ठुलो गाडी त्यस्तो होइन तर मलाई खुसी छ सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ यही थाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो युरोप गयो चाइना घुम्यो बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसाको आपत पनि परेन थाङ्गा सँगसँगै लान्दै ब्रिफिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो त्यसकारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि
Then comes the awakening, the eyes. Until that moment, the Thangka is silent. When the artist paints the peoples, the deity is invited to reside within. The canvas breathes, the prayer begins. From quiet Himalayan ateliers to the galleries in Tokyo, Berlin, and New York, Thangkas now travel far beyond the monasteries. They adorn homes, museums, and collectors' walls, a global symbol of Nepal's artistic devotion.
Mostly, Thanka word itself is a Tibetan word, so this tradition belongs to Tibetan people. This tradition belongs to Tamang, This tradition belongs to Newar community, although they have different expression of color, technique, the detail, but this tradition, this culture belongs to this three community, and this is kind of passed on tradition. They learn this skill from their forefather to the new generation. This is how this tradition has been continuing and preserving. So it is beneficial for them to live their life, and it is beneficial for the country because this is a culture, and culture and tradition is the treasure of each country.
The trade sustains thousands. From the hum of Bodha's alleys to export crates bound for distant lands, Thangka has become a vital thread in Nepal's creative economy. Yet, as markets grow, so does the tension between faith and fame, between meditation and merchandise.
कला चाहिँ दुवै राम्रै हो हैन आफ्नो आफ्नै फिलोसफी भन्ने हो यसले चाहिँ तपाईको मन भित्रको डेप्थमा जाने सिकाउने हो यसमा चाहिँ यो चाहिँ मिहिन काम हुन्छ कठिन पनि हुन्छ के किनभने यसमा चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ अघिको जस्तो धेरै चीजहरु चाहिँ लिनुपर्छ अनुशासन लिनु पर्यो हैन यसको विधि विधानमा बसेर गर्नुपर्छ यसमा चाहिँ अब त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको मनमा जुन फिलिङ्स आउँछ त्यो लेखिहाल्ने हो के त्यो गर्दाखेरि त्यसले पनि वर्ल्डमा चलिरहेछ यसले चाहिँ नेपालले किन त्यो अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ कम्पिटिसन गर्न सक्छ भने चाहिँ यो चीज चाहिँ अरूले गर्न सक्दैन किनभने त्यसमा मेडिटेसन ध्यान जस्तै गर्नुपर्छ के सरकारी स्कुलबाट चाहिँ स्कुलिङ देखि नै गर्नुपर्छ यसको पाठ्यक्रमहरु बनाउनु पर्छ हैन एउटा त्यो गरिसकेपछि यसको प्रमोट हुन्छ हैन हामीलाई चाहिने त त्यो प्रवर्धन हो नि तर ब्याङ्किङहरुले पनि के गर्नु पर्यो भने यसलाई चाहिँ बिना दिदोमा पनि के रे ऋण दिने वातावरण हैन कलाकारको के छुटाएर के अनि तपाईको हामीले ट्याक्स तिर्नु पर्छ ट्याक्स तिर्दाखेरि पनि कुनै एउटा चीज चाहिँ कलाकारलाई कुन ओदामा राखेर त्यसको एउटा ब्यालेन्स एउटा गरेर सरकारले गरिदियो भने यसको जन अझ फ्रस्टिन्छ के फ्रस्टिएपछि त यो नेपालकै लागि चाहिँ यसले चाहिँ पर्यटनलाई पनि विकास हुने अनि त्यो स्कुल कलेजमा भयो भने पुस्ता हस्तान्तरण चाहिँ एकदम दिगो हुन्छ के
All the Thangka has same meaning of peace. So foreigner, they admire philosophy. Practitioner also, they choose deities mostly to practice, to visualize, and they imagine the quality of deities with themselves. And some least person, they want it as a souvenir to decorate for the positive vibe. Some they buy it for the gift for their loved one. Philosophy reminds us about the beautiful quality, and that quality gives us peace, and that peace is everyone searching for. So Thangka painting is very, very important for everyone because it is relevant with our life. If it is relevant with our life, that is truth.
But beyond commerce and canvas, a Thangka is still a mirror, reflecting a way of life where art and spirit breathe as one. Every brush that moves today carries the echo of generations, an unbroken whisper from monastery walls to the modern world. As the sun sets over the Himalayas, somewhere an artist bows before a finished Thangka. His work is now complete, his prayer released. For in every stroke lies a journey from pigment to prayer, from devotion to eternity. This is not just Nepal's art, it is Nepal's soul, painted into time.
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Bishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jai Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump, so the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Turikhel in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur. Nepal has also shown its proactiveness in differently abled cricket tournaments like the T20 World Cup for the blind in 2012 and the Asian Cricket Tournament for the deaf. Nepali women's national cricket team has also achieved remarkable success in a short period of time. The latest addition in Nepali cricket is the floodlit Tribhuvan University Cricket Stadium and the Nepal Premier League that has provided opportunity for Nepali players to rub shoulders with world-class players. Pokhara is undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchre on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Pheva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra Cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish or Begnas lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous white monastery on top of the hill above Pheva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Pheva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. A must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarankot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarankot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places including Swarak in Sangja have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, Paragliding Accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Pheva Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa.
नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः 'cause I know there'll be no more tears
Lawmakers urged the government to address the demands of loan shark victims, call for action to curb rising suicides and manage landless quarters. Unplanned road construction is increasing landslide risk across Nepal. Experts warn bulldozer development is putting lives and livelihoods in danger. 4 Nepali Congress ministers resign in Karnali. Sudur Paschim Chief Minister dismisses CPN-UML ministers over provincial budget row. US carries out new wave of strikes against Iranian targets. US President warns of expanding military strikes if Tehran does not agree to its proposed deal. England up against Argentina tonight in the FIFA World Cup 2026 semi-final for a place in the title decider against Spain. And Nepal's under-19 women reach ACC Premier Cup semi-finals, defeating Japan. Men's team secure direct entry to the 2020 T20 World Cup global qualifiers. Good evening, I'm Suviksha Rajak and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in details. Nepal's federal parliament has been adjourned for 15 days, giving lawmakers time to return to their constituencies and engage with the public. Before adjourning, the House of Representatives Speaker Dole Prasad Aryal said a strong relationship between parliament and the citizens is essential for a more accountable and participatory democracy. He said the recess would allow lawmakers to reconnect with voters and better understand public concerns. The Speaker also highlighted key achievements of the session, including the passage of the government's annual policy and program, the appropriation bill, the finance bill, and the public debt bill for the new fiscal year. Aryal expressed confidence that lawmakers would return with greater public engagement and play an even more active role in the upcoming parliamentary session.
सरकारले आगामी आर्थिक वर्षलाई कानून निर्माण तथा सुधार वर्ष घोषणा गरेको छ। प्रचलित कानूनको पुनरावलोकन, संशोधन, एकीकरण तथा आवश्यक नयाँ कानून निर्माणको यस अभियानमा संसदको महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका हुने भएका कारण आगामी बैठकहरूमा माननीय सदस्यहरूको भूमिका सक्रिय रहनेछ भन्ने विश्वास लिएको छु। माननीय सदस्यहरू, संसदीय बैठकको विश्रामलाई जनतासँगको विमर्शमा रूपान्तरण गर्नुहोस् भन्ने शुभकामना व्यक्त गर्दै प्रतिनिधि सभाको अर्को बैठक सम्वत 2083 साल साउन 14 गते बिहीबार बिहान 11 बजे बस्ने गरी यो बैठक यहीं स्थगित हुन्छ।
Unplanned road construction in Nepal's hills is increasing the risk of landslides, with experts warning that bulldozer development is putting lives and livelihoods at risk. Roads built without geological studies or proper planning are becoming increasingly vulnerable during the monsoon, damaging farmland and threatening settlements. Experts say climate change and intense rainfall are worsening the situation and are calling for scientific road construction, stronger laws and long-term solutions such as tunnels to reduce future landslide risks. We'll take a closer look into this in our issue of the day later in the bulletin. Now, political developments have reshaped two provincial governments, with coalition tensions deepening in Sudur Paschim and a planned power transition underway in Karnali. In Sudur Paschim, Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah dismissed all CPN-UML ministers after the party refused to support the provincial budget, prompting the UML to seek spending cuts in 3 ministries and intensifying the province's political crisis. Meanwhile, in Karnali, 4 Nepali Congress ministers resigned under a coalition agreement that provides for the Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML to lead the provincial government on a rotational basis. The developments have renewed concerns over the stability of provincial coalitions and the influence of national party politics on Nepal's federal governance. More on this in our cover story later. The United States says it has carried out a new wave of military strikes against Iranian targets near the strategic Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's southern coastline. According to the U.S. Central Command, the operation targeted missile and drone launch sites, naval assets, immunization storage facility, communication networks, and coastal surveillance systems. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most important maritime choke points, with around a fifth of global oil shipments passing through the waterway, making an escalation in the region a major international concern. The latest strikes come amid heightened tensions between Washington and Tehran, rising fears of further instability across the Middle East. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington could expand its military strikes on Iran next week to include critical infrastructure such as power plants and bridges if Tehran does not agree to a deal. The warning comes amid escalating tensions between the two countries and ongoing efforts to pressure Iran through military and diplomatic measures.
And then next week it gets really bad for them, because next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
England and Argentina will battle tonight for a place in the FIFA World Cup 2026 final, where Spain are already waiting after commanding semi-final victory over France. Spain secured a 2-0 win at Dallas Stadium in Texas, with Mikel Oyarzabal opening the scoring from the penalty spot in the 22nd minute after Lamine Yamal was fouled inside the box. Pedro Porro doubled Spain's lead in the 58th minute to seal a victory, while France failed to find a way back into the match. The winner of tonight's semi-final between England and Argentina will face Spain in the Sunday's World Cup final at the New York, New Jersey Stadium. A detailed look on this in our sports segment later in the bulletin. Nepal's under-19 women's cricket team has advanced to the semi-finals of the ACC Women's Premier Cup in Malaysia after commanding 9-wicket victory over Japan. They will face the United Arab Emirates on Friday, with both teams already securing qualifications of the upcoming Asia Cup. Meanwhile, Nepal's men's cricket team has received a major boost after the ICC confirmed its direct entry into the global qualifiers for the 2028 T20 World Cup. Under the new qualification pathway, Nepal will bypass the Asia regional qualifiers and compete directly for a place in the tournament, marking another significant milestone for Nepali cricket. Coming up after the break, roads built in the name of development are leaving Nepal's hills more vulnerable to the landslides. We'll look at how bulldozer development is turning this monsoon into a growing disaster risk. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour, and it's time for Issue of the Day. Roads and rural tracks are the first signs of development anywhere in the world. But the opening tracks and the motorable roads haphazardly in the name of development in hilly terrains have their own sorrow. Nepal has been bearing the brunt of the so-called bulldozer development with reoccurring landslides that are displacing entire villages. Sabika Shrestha along with Pawan Barsha brings more.
Roads are synonymous to development in any country, and Nepal is not an exception. Whether at the local or provincial level, governments have prioritized extending roads to every village. However, due to the tendency of opening tracks without accessing soil conditions, rock formations, or conducting geological studies, many rural roads are creating serious risk of landslides in the highlands. With the onset of the monsoon each year, landslides frequently block these rural roads, disrupting transportation. Beyond road closures, landslides also destroy fertile land while making the hilly settlements and slopes increasingly unsafe. Experts describe this trend as bulldozer development.
हाम्रो चाहिँ भिरालो जमिनलाई काटेर स्टेबलाइज कसरी गर्ने भन्ने उपाय गरिएन, पानीको समुचित निकास गर्न सकिएन। अर्को कुरा हामीले चाहिँ कति एंगलमा कुन बाटोमा अथवा कुन चट्टानी पहाडमा चाहिँ कसरी लिएर जाने भन्ने कुराको अध्ययन नगरिकिन हामीले चाहिँ सामान्यतया डोजरी विकास भन्छौं, त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ आको देखिन्छ।
Making the matter worse is the changing meteorological pattern, much due to climate change. That has totally changed the precipitation with intense rainfall in short periods. Such heavy downpours significantly heighten the risk of landslides along the tracks and rural roads opened without proper planning or scientific assessment. Despite experts' recommendation to open tracks and roads after conducting through geological studies and planning, the trend of bulldozer development continues, especially at the end of the fiscal year that happens to be peak monsoon.
जुन ठाउँमा हामीले बाटो बनाउँदै छौं त्यहाँको भौगोलिक संरचना के हो भन्ने कुरा अध्ययन गर्नु पर्यो, जुन चाहिँ भूगर्भविदले अथवा जियोलोजिस्टहरूले गर्छन्। दोस्रो कुरा के हुन्छ त भन्दा त्यहाँ कट गर्ने बेलामा सामान्यतया रोड बनाउँदाखेरि ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन इन्जिनियरिङमा कुन एंगलबाट लिएर आउने, कुन डाइरेक्सनमा जाने भन्ने कुराको अध्ययनहरू गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ, त्यो अध्ययन गर्नु पर्यो। र तेस्रो कुरा चाहिँ त्यो स्लोपलाई काटिसकेपछि अथवा काट्नुभन्दा पहिले कति डिग्रीमा काट्ने भनेर चाहिँ त्यसको अध्ययन हुनु पर्यो र काटिसकेपछि त्यहाँ चाहिँ त्यो स्लोपलाई चाहिँ अड्याउनको लागि जसलाई हामी रिटेनिङ वालहरू भन्छौं अथवा त्यसका विभिन्न प्रकारहरू हुन्छन्, तीनहरू चाहिँ त्यहाँ राख्नु पर्यो, जसले गर्दा पहाड चाहिँ नि त्यसले टेवा वाल जस्तो दिन्छ हामीले। अर्को चाहिँ माथिबाट बगेर आउने जुन पानी छ त्यसको चाहिँ समुचित निकास हुनु पर्यो।
In a hilly and mountainous terrains of Nepal, natural landslides cannot be completely averted. However, experts argue that long-term solutions such as constructing tunnels along major highways based on geographical conditions could substantially reduce landslide risks. They have stressed strong legal provisions to discourage the practice of opening tracks and roads haphazardly, which they say can significantly reduce the risk of landslides each monsoon. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World.
In this context, today in our Public Health segment, we have asked how can we reduce landslide risk from rural roads? Let's have a look.
एक्सकेभेटर चालकलाई नै हामी प्राविधिक बनाएका अवस्था छ। त्यसलाई कमसेकम प्राविधिक रूपमा हिसाबले चाहिँ कसरी लान सकिन्छ, यो बाटो लानको लागि चाहिँ यो हाई जस्तै चाहिँ त्यसको लेभलहरू चाहिँ त्यो सबै कुरा आयो भने त्यसरी ल्याउन सक्यो भने चाहिँ एक किसिमले जोखिम हामी चाहिँ घटाउन सक्छौँ।
अब कुन तरिकाले लाने, कतापट्टि लाने, नलाने, के गर्ने, अब अहिले तत्कालको लागि खन्दा राम्रो भयो भने पछिको लागि त्यसले जोखिम निम्ताउँदैन, के गर्छ? अब निम्ताउँछ भनेदेखि दोस्रो विकल्प खोज्ने।
रोड खन्या छ तपाईको त्यो अब त्यही नयाँ रोडबाटै तपाईको पहिरो गएर उता क्षति गर्दैछ हैन, त्यसलाई चाहिँ अलिक मजबुत तरिकाले राम्रोसँग खन्देदेखि हुन्थ्यो।
इन्जिनियरहरूले चाहिँ राम्रोसँग जाँच नगरिकन त्यतै जहाँ भन्यो उही त्यही राम्रोसँग चाहिँ यसको चाहिँ कहाँ असर पर्छ भन्ने कुरा नबुझिकन चाहिँ डोजरहरू चलाएर चाहिँ गाउँमा धेरै विकृति भइरहेको छ।
विनाश नहोस् र विकास होस्, बाटोघाटो गाह्रो लाउनु पर्यो, कति क्षति हुन्छ, कति के हुन्छ, समाजको यसो हेरविचारहरू गाउँ समाजको।
Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour, and it's time for our cover story. A provincial budget dispute has triggered a political crisis in Sudurpashchim while Karnali prepares for a change in leadership. After the break, we explain what these developments mean for Nepal's federal politics. Stay with us for our cover story. Sudurpashchim Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah has dismissed all CPN-UML ministers from the provincial government after the party declined to support the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. According to the Chief Minister's office, the decision came after the ruling coalition partner refused to back the budget during the provincial assembly proceedings. Those removed include the ministers for physical infrastructure development, internal affairs and law, land management, agriculture and cooperatives, along with the Minister of State of Physical Infrastructure. The UML has also registered proposals in the Provincial Assembly seeking to cut expenditures under 3 ministers. The latest developments has intensified political tensions in Sudurpashchim and raised uncertainty over the future of the provincial government. 4 ministers representing the Nepali Congress in the Karnali provincial government have tendered their resignation today. Leader of the Nepali Congress Karnali Provincial Assembly, Jivan Bahadur Shahi, said the Finance and Planning Minister Rajiv Bikram Shah, Social Development Minister Ghaneshyam Bhandari, Water Resources and Energy Minister Vijay Buda, and Industry, Tourism, Forest and Environment Minister Suresh Adhikari have jointly submitted their resignations. It is said they have submitted a joint resignation today in line with the agreement reached between the ruling parties, the Nepali Congress and CPN-UML, to run an alternating government for 2 years each. A budget deadlock in Nepal's far western Sudurpashchim province had triggered a political crisis after the collapse of the provincial coalition between the Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML. The dispute has renewed questions of the stability of provincial alliances and the influence of national party leadership on Nepal's federal system. Saloja Dahal reports, voiced by Siksha Bhatrai.
A budget deadlock in Nepal's Sudurpashchim province has put the coalition between the Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML under strain, raising questions about political cooperation in other provinces. The province failed to pass its budget for the 2026-27 fiscal year before the legal deadline. Chief Minister Kamal Bahadur Shah then dismissed 3 CPN-UML ministers and a state minister, saying the party had blocked the budget process. The CPN-UML responded by withdrawing its support from the provincial government, ending the coalition in Sudurpashchim.
6जना सदस्यहरूले चाहिँ हामीले मात्र संशोधन प्रस्ताव राख्यौं सच्याउने करेक्सन गर्छन् कि भनेर राखेका थियौं फिर्ता ल्याउ बजेट पूर्ण पुनर्लेखन गर भनेका थियौं हामीले सरकारबाट बाहिर जान्छौं भनेका थियौं नि त भित्र भन्न नपाइने जो चोर उसैको ठूलो स्वर त्यसकारण यो कुरा चाहिँ हामीले स्वीकार्य थिएन जसका लागि हामी यहाँ प्रतिवाद गर्छौं.
The dispute is also drawing attention to coalition politics elsewhere. In Bagmati province, CPN-UML leaders say they will decide their next political course independently. The developments have fueled speculation that relations between the two parties could come under pressure in other provinces.
हामी संसदीय बैठक बसेर र पार्टीको पनि माथिल्लो तहको उच्च तहको नेतृत्वले सफल गरेर हामी टिम आउँछौं यसमा अब अहिले नि यसै गरी जाने भनेर हामी भन्दैनौं हामी सत्ता सहकार्यको इमानदारताको पालना गरोस् भनेर फेरि पनि हामीले दोहोर्याइरहेका छौं.
Political observers say changes in Nepal's federal government have historically had an impact on provincial administrations. Although the Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML are no longer coalition partners at the federal level, analysts say decisions taken by party leaders at the center continues to influence politics across the country's 7 provinces. They say Nepal's constitution gives separate powers to the federal, provincial and local governments. But in practice, provincial governments and party organizations remain heavily influenced by the center. Analysts say the current uncertainty also reflects the failure of provincial governments to fully exercise the authority granted to them under the federal system. They argue provinces should make greater use of their constitutional powers rather than rely on direction from national party leadership.
प्रदेशलाई चाहिँ बढी कार्यकारी बनाउने बढी जनताको नजरमा जुन गिरेको छ त्यो नगिर्ने अवस्था बनाउनका लागि कुन बाटो जान सकिन्छ भनेर अहिले हिजो अब पराजित भएका राजनीतिक दलहरू जसले संविधान बनाउने जुन अहम भूमिका हिजो खेले तिनले र अहिले सरकारमा भएकोहरुको बीचमा चाहिँ एउटा सार्थक वार्ता भएर प्रदेशलाई चाहिँ बढी कार्यकारी बनाउन सकिने, बढी फङ्सनल बनाउन सकिने बाटो खोज्न पर्छ। त्यो चाहिँ अब कन्फ्रन्टेसनले त्यो बाटो आउँदैन, आपसी परामर्श, आपसी सल्लाहबाट मात्रै त्यो बाटो आउन सक्छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ।
The Nepali Congress and the CPNEML currently govern together in 6 of Nepal's 7 provinces. Sudur Paschim is the only province that failed to approve its budget before the start of the new fiscal year. The remaining provinces, including Madhesh, passed their budgets before the deadline.
Lawmakers in the House of Representatives today urged the government to address the demands of meter interest victims, rising suicide cases, fertilizer shortages, and the long-standing problems of landless quarters. Members also called for a review of government's performance after its first 100 days job security for temporary employees and a continued commitment to press freedom. Law Minister Shobita Gautam announced that the government plans to register 166 bills in the upcoming fiscal year, describing it as a year dedicated to legal reform and stronger coordination with Parliament.
कार्यतालिका अनुसार नयाँ विधेयक 97 र प्रचलित ऐनलाई संशोधन गर्न बनेको विधेयक 69 गरी जम्मा 166 विधेयक यस वर्ष सरकारले संसदमा प्रस्तुत गर्ने लक्ष्य राखेको छ। प्राथमिकता क्रम अनुसार पहिलो प्राथमिकतामा 64 वटा विधेयकहरू छन्, दोस्रो प्राथमिकतामा 45 वटा विधेयकहरू छन् र तेस्रो प्राथमिकतामा 57 वटा विधेयकहरू छन्। कुल विधेयक 166।
The House also unanimously ratified the 2014 protocol to the International Labour Organization's Forced Labour Convention, with the government pledging to strengthen labour laws and their implementation. Meanwhile, annual reports of the National Human Rights Commission and 2 other constitutional commissions were tabled in the House, while opposition parties registered a proposal seeking parliamentary discussions on the sustainable rehabilitation of landless and informal settlers. In the National Assembly, lawmakers highlighted disaster preparedness, governance and public welfare before the upper house adjourned until July 31st. Now, the government's latest efforts to address the long-standing loan sharking crisis has offered fresh hope to usury victims following direct talks with protesters in Bara. The cabinet has moved to implement past commission recommendations, although some key demands will require legal amendments before they can be fulfilled. A report by Kamala Arial.
The march by loan shark victims, which began in Dhanusha with a 6-point charter of demands, has been temporarily halted in Nijgarh Bara after Home Minister Sudhan Gurung met protesters for on-site talks. The protesters are demanding the cancellation of fraudulent land deeds, a stronger law against loan sharking, the formation of a special tribunal, and investigations into the assets of alleged loan sharks. Following the meeting, the Cabinet on Tuesday decided to implement the recommendations of all previous commissions formed to address loan sharking. The decision assigns the Ministry of Home Affairs to oversee implementation, giving protesters renewed hope after years of unfulfilled commitments.
मन्त्री आउनुभयो उहाँले चाहिँ म धन्यवाद गर्न चाहन्छु र हामी अहिले संवादमै छौँ हाम्रो चाहिँ 6 रुपैयाँ माग हो अब त्यो 6 रुपैयाँ माग कुरा गर्नु
100 दिनको भित्रमा पनि यी कुराहरू नआइसकेपछि कहीं हामी मिटर ब्याज पीडितहरू हामी यी सुदखोर साहुहरूको चुङ्गलमा फसेर सिद्धिने त होइन भनेर पीडितहरू चाहिँ जागेकै हुन्
28,40,000 रुपैयाँ बुझाएर उनीहरु त्यसमा पनि हामीहरुलाई
However, legal experts say some demands cannot be addressed immediately as they require amendments to existing laws. These include reviewing disputed loan documents, returning land transferred through fraudulent agreements, tracing the source of illegal lending, and revising legal provisions that affect ongoing court proceedings. Former Commission Coordinator says meaningful reform will require both legal changes and patience from the victims.
कागजातको पुनर्परीक्षणको चाहिँ व्यवस्था दोस्रो कुरा चाहिँ लिखत पास गरेरै चाहिँ जग्गा साउले लिइसकेको चाहिँ छ विश्वासघात गरेर भनेदेखि त्यसमा चाहिँ कसरी फिर्ता गर्ने भन्ने कुरा तेस्रो कुरा ऋणीले चाहिँ अथवा साउले मिटर ब्याजीले चाहिँ ऋण दिँदाखेरि चाहिँ लाखौंको ऋण प्रवाह गरेको छ भने त्यसको स्रोत खुलाउनु पर्ने चाहिँ व्यवस्था.
Previous commissions have already recommended resolving disputes locally, ensuring faster justice through a special mechanism, returning victims' property, cancelling fraudulent documents, improving access to formal credit, and investigating the illegal assets of loan sharks.
The government has approved Nepal's 6th National Human Rights Action Plan, setting out a 5-year roadmap from fiscal year 2083-84 to 2087-88. The plan identifies 17 priority areas, including education, health, and social justice, with specific targets to strengthen the protection and promotion of human rights. It notes that 119 existing laws are directly related to safeguarding human rights, with all 3 levels of government, the judiciary, parliament, and constitutional commissions playing key roles in implementation. Despite these legal and institutional frameworks, the action plan acknowledges persistent challenges, including ending impunity, ensuring effective enforcement of laws, and strengthening coordination between duty bearers and rights holders. Vegetable farmers staged a protest at Maithikar in Kathmandu on Wednesday by dumping tomatoes on the road, demanding fair prices for the produce. The protesters said they are not receiving reasonable returns despite rising production costs, while middlemen continue to dominate the market. Farmers called on the government to fix minimum support prices for tomatoes and other vegetables and improve market management. They also demanded the implementation of agricultural insurance, cold storage facilities in every local ward, concessional loans, and timely supplies of seeds and fertilizers. The demonstrators said ensuring fair prices and reducing the influence of middlemen are essential to protecting farmers' livelihoods and strengthening Nepal's agricultural sector. The number of devotees visiting Changchangdi, also known as Chaya Kshetra Temple in Birkot municipality of Sangja, has been steadily increasing. Located along the Siddharth Highway, the temple is revered for its religious significance and is believed by many to fulfill the wishes of devotees. As visitor numbers continue to rise, local efforts are now underway to improve and better manage the temple area. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Himal Neopani brings the report.
Changchangdi Temple, located in Birkot municipality of Sangja district of Nepal, is witnessing a steady rise in the number of devotees and visitors. Believed to be one of the sacred sites mentioned in the Sri Sostani Brata Katha, revered Hindu religious text, the temple is gaining popularity as both a religious and a tourist destination supported by ongoing infrastructure development. According to Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva arrived at the site while carrying the body of Goddess Sati after her death. It is believed that the final remaining part of Sati's body fell here, making Changchangdi a sacred place of worship. Devotees believe that prayers offered at the temple fulfill their wishes, drawing pilgrims from across the country throughout the year. Once crowded only during Mahasivaratri and on Mondays in the holy month of Shravan, the temple now welcomes hundreds of devotees every day. To preserve its religious heritage and enhance the visitor experience, infrastructure development is in full swing. Construction is underway on 108 sacred water spouts and an artificial Himalayan landscape within the temple complex. Situated along the Siddhartha Highway, Changchangdi Temple lies on the route frequently used by Indian pilgrims traveling from Pokhara to the renowned Muktinath Temple. Despite its religious significance and a strategic location, limited publicity and inadequate parking facilities have prevented the temple from attracting more international visitors. Local authorities believe that improved infrastructures, better promotion, and enhanced visitor facilities will help establish Changchangdi Temple as a prominent religious and tourism destination with international recognition.
International news line up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal's federal parliament adjourned for 15 days, giving lawmakers time to return to their constituencies and engage with the public. Unplanned road construction is increasing landslide risk across Nepal. Experts warn bulldozer development is putting lives and livelihoods in danger. 4 Nepali Congress ministries resign in Karnali. Sudur Paschim Chief Minister dismisses CPN UML ministries over provincial budget row. U.S. carries out new wave of strikes against Iranian targets. U.S. President warns of expanding military strikes if Tehran does not agree its proposed deal. England up against Argentina tonight in the FIFA World Cup 2026 semi-final for a place in the title decider against Spain. And Nepal's under-19 women reach ACC Premier Cup semi-finals, defeating Japan. Men's team secure direct entry to the 2028 T20 World Cup global qualifiers. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has bid farewell to Parliament during his final Prime Minister's questions, calling it the end of his political journey. Starmer, who is stepping down as Labour leader and handing power to Andy Burnham, received applause from lawmakers at the close of the session. He exchanged light-hearted remarks with Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, who said a change in leadership alone would not solve Britain's challenges.
Mr. Speaker, I will give my wholehearted support to my successor. I want this Labour government to be a success. I want our country to be a success. I shall give my support privately if asked for, not publicly when not asked for. But, Mr. Speaker,
at least 6 people were killed and more than 20 others injured after Russian strikes hit multiple locations across Ukraine on Wednesday. The attacks targeted industrial and medical facilities in the northeastern city of Sumy and the Black Sea port city of Odessa. Regional officials said guided aerial bombs struck Sumy, while Odessa endured a 5th consecutive day of combined missile and drone attacks. Authorities warn that Russia has intensified its bombardment of Ukrainian cities in recent months, causing increasing civilian casualties. The latest strikes come a day after the United Nations reported that civilian deaths in Ukraine reached a 4-year high in June, with casualties rising sharply during the first half of 2026. Israeli and Lebanese delegations have arrived in Rome for a second day of U.S. brokered negotiations aimed at advancing a ceasefire framework agreed upon last month. The talks follow 5 previous rounds of discussions in Washington and are focused on implementing measures to reduce tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border. Lebanese officials are seeking progress on the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon, a key demand under the framework agreement. The negotiations come after months of cross-border hostilities that have displaced thousands of civilians and heightened fears of a wider regional conflict. Mediators hope the latest round will help build confidence between two sides and pave the way for a more lasting de-escalation. China says it firmly opposes a proposed U.S. sanctions bill targeting countries that continue to buy Russian energy, calling the measure unacceptable. The bipartisan legislation backed by President Donald Trump is intended to increase pressure on Moscow over its war in Ukraine by targeting nations that help finance Russia's energy export.
中方坚决反对没有国际法依据、未经联合国安理会授权的非法单边制裁。 将采取一切必要措施，坚定维护本国企业和公民的正当权益。搞双重标准和胁迫施压，最终只会搬起石头砸自己的脚。
Business news coming up next. For now, a short breather.
Thailand is set to host the 2026 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group in Bangkok from October 12 to 18, marking the second time the country has hosted the Global Financial Summit since 1991. The event at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Center is expected to attract more than 15,000 delegates from 191 countries, including policymakers, finance ministers, and central bankers. Thailand said the summit will boost its economy and global reputation with a focus on digital transformation, climate adaptation, resilience, and demographic challenges. The Bank of Thailand will also introduce the Bangkok Blueprint, a policy framework aimed at promoting secure, inclusive digital finance and strengthening global financial cooperation. Canada says it is aiming to finalize a trade agreement with the Mercosur group of South American countries by the end of the year, according to Foreign Minister Anita Anand during her visit to Brazil. The proposed deal would strengthen economic ties between Canada and the four-member Mercosur bloc, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Ottawa is seeking to expand its international trade partnerships amid shifting global economic conditions and growing competition for markets. The talks are expected to focus on increasing trade flows, investment opportunities, and cooperation across key sectors. 26 former Meta employees have filed a lawsuit accusing the company of using artificial intelligence systems to select workers for recent layoffs, alleging the process unfairly affected employees on medical or family leave. The lawsuit claims Meta's AI tools used performance ratings, productivity data, and other metrics to rank employees for termination. Meta has denied the allegations, saying workforce decisions were made by people and calling the claims without merit. The legal challenge comes as the technology giant cuts thousands of jobs while redirecting major investments towards artificial intelligence development. One of the most complete Tyrannosaurus rex skeletons ever discovered has been sold for $50.1 million, including fees, at an auction in New York. Nicknamed Gus, the fossil dates back around 66 to 72 million years to the late Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs dominated a warmer Earth with high sea levels and vast coastal plains. The sale highlights the growing global interest in rare dinosaur fossils among collectors, museums, and researchers. The T-Rex specimen is among the most significant examples of one of the most iconic predators in prehistoric history.
Now to sports. One place vacant and two teams vying. It's time for Argentina versus England semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup 2026. Can England break its homecoming jinx by beating the Messi-inspired Argentina that has never been beaten in a World Cup semi-final in last 5 appearances?
There is almost nothing to split these teams in this World Cup semi-final. Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham have scored 6 goals each in this edition. It's the first time in World Cup history that 2 players from the same country have hit 6+ goals in the same tournament. Argentina has scored 17 goals this time, the most of any team, and needs just 1 more to equal its best ever tally of 18. In the second semi-final, England and Argentina will renew one of the greatest rivalries in international football, knowing a shot at immortality awaits the victors of Thursday's World Cup semi-final at Atlanta Stadium. The political tensions stemming from the 1982 Falklands War, which once hugely marred relations between the 2 nations, have filtered into the pitch in the past. Most notably, the 2 teams met in the 1986 World Cup quarterfinals at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico, a game that went down in football folklore for Diego Maradona's hand of God goal, followed swiftly by the goal of the century as Argentina ran out 2-1 victors. Some 22 years later, it was Argentina celebrating again at France '98. This time, England suffered a last 16 penalty shootout defeat in a match where future captain David Beckham was sent off for a kick on Diego Simeone. Beckham had his redemption just 4 years later, converting from the penalty spot as England was 1-0 victor in the group stage of the 2002 World Cup. That remains the last of 5 previous World Cup meetings between the two sides. England has lost only 2 of its 14 internationals against Argentina, winning 6 and drawing the other 6, though one of those draws does include the penalty shootout defeat in the last 16 of France, 98. This time it's difficult to predict, but head-to-head history favors the English while Argentina has enjoyed a purple patch in World Cup semi-finals.
French football fans are expressing disappointment after their team's 2-0 defeat to Spain in the FIFA World Cup semi-finals, ending France's hope of winning a third world title. Supporters gathered in Paris described the result as a painful setback after another deep run in the tournament under coach Didier Deschamps. France, champions in 1998 and 2018, had been aiming to add a third World Cup trophy to its record. Spain now advances to the final, while France will compete in the third place playoff. Now to the weather updates, first from Nepal and then across the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal's federal parliament adjourned for 15 days, giving lawmakers time to return to their constituencies and engage with the public. Unplanned road construction is increasing landslide risk across Nepal. Experts warn bulldozer development is putting lives and livelihoods in danger. 4 Nepali Congress ministers resign in Karnali. Sudur Paschim Chief Minister dismisses CPN-UML ministers over provincial budget row. US carries out new wave of strikes against Iranian targets. US President warns of expanding military strikes if Tehran does not agree to its proposed deal. England up against Argentina tonight in the FIFA World Cup 2026 semi-final for a place in the title decider against Spain. And Nepal's under-19 women reach ACC Premier Cup semi-finals, defeating Japan. Men's team secure direct entry to the 2020 T20 World Cup global qualifiers. That's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. I'm Suveksha Rajak and thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.